Chapter 407. Lin Tian thought for a moment and said, "All right, let's go to the sea region you mentioned." Full text reading. He had nothing to do at the moment. Since there was a place to train, it was naturally a good thing to go there. Cultivators grew stronger through training and battles. Okay. Bai Qiu was even happier. "I'm so bored at home. There are many places I haven't been to." "That's because you're the eldest daughter and eldest princess. If you lose a hair, your parents will jump up and down," Lin Tian said. He took a step forward and continued to walk forward. Bai Qiu muttered softly and followed him. Hey, do you know how to get to the sea region?" she said. "I don't know." "Then why are you walking in front?" "I know how to get to the sea region. I'll walk in front, and you follow me," Bai Qiu said. "What's the rush?" "I didn't say I'm going to the sea region immediately." Lin Tianyi smiled and said, "Don't you rarely go to places? This place is surrounded by mountains, and the air is fresh. Isn't it good to walk around with me and breathe in nature?" He walked at the front, appearing very relaxed and at ease. Bai Qiu stared at him and pursed her lips. "What are you talking about? You're acting like an otherworldly expert. If you keep mumbling, I'll knock you." "How dare you knock me?" "I'll suppress you with an immortal artifact." Bai Qiu glared at him. Lin Tianyi smiled and said, "Is that so? It's different now compared to when we were in the sword tomb. You might be disappointed now." Bai Qiu glanced at him a few times, but she did not say anything in the end. She pursed her lips and followed beside him. Lin Tian walked along the old forest. There were some ordinary small animals everywhere in the forest. When they saw humans passing by, they were quite frightened and hurriedly ran away. Of course, there were also many powerful beasts in the old forest. They attacked the two of them along the way, but they were all sent flying by Lin Tianyi's slap. Bai Qiu followed behind Lin Tian and walked through the forest. After a while, she seemed more ethereal. "The outside world is so good," she said. Lin Tian glanced at her. She felt that ordinary people had their own troubles, and aristocrats also had their own worries. "Then come with me. There's nothing to do anyway." He laughed. "Sure." Bai Qiu nodded vigorously. "When I was young, Big Brother often took me around my backyard." "How big is your backyard?" "It's just a small area." "My backyard is a group of immortal mountains. It's very big and not smaller than Mount Heavenly Demon. There are many spirit demons." Lin Tian. He really wanted to use the words of the other world to say, "Tycoon, what happened to you?" Bai Qiu stared at him. "Nothing." Lin Tian continued to walk forward and said casually, "Your brother loves you very much." Although he said it casually, he was speaking from the bottom of his heart. Inside the sword tomb, when he saw that Bai Ziki was injured, he immediately went crazy. He had seen Bai Ziki once and knew that Bai Ziki was very calm. It was probably the first time that Bai Ziki had gone crazy. "I'm his biological sister," Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian rolled his eyes. "You even know about this?" Which younger sister would think of suppressing her own brother all day long? "Luckily, your brother dotes on you and didn't resist at that time. He has such a powerful treasure in his body." He had seen Bai Ziki use that damaged treasure before. It was at the level of a Dao armament. Although it was damaged, it was still far more powerful than an immortal artifact. "Who asked you to be so disobedient? Moreover, your true essence had dried up at that time. He couldn't use the treasure." Bai Qiu snorted. "So you were so sure that you had your brother under control and threatened him without holding back? This kind of opportunity is very rare. If he didn't cherish it, he would have died. He would have been struck by lightning." "All right, although I sympathize with your brother, I express my support for you. In the future, let's work together and suppress him for a year," Lin Tian said with a smile. If Bai Ziki was really suppressed by Bai Qiu, he would probably wake up laughing in his dreams. "You're not a good person either. If there's a chance in the future, I'll suppress you too." "Little girl, you're really evil," Lin Tian laughed. The two of them walked along the old forest. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. In these 3 days, they spent most of their time shuttling through the forest. Their food was simple fasting pills. On this day, the two of them left the old forest and appeared near Mount Tianyao. Boom! There were true essence fluctuations in front of them, as well as waves of demonic chi. Lin Tian looked ahead and saw that not far away, a dozen demonic beast experts had surrounded a few humans. These demonic beast experts were not weak. There were 2 great demonic beasts, and the rest were all in the Sea of Consciousness realm. They were all in human form. Lin Tian happened to pass by. He stared at the demonic beasts and narrowed his eyes slightly. At this time, a few human cultivators also saw Lin Tian. They were first shocked, then they asked for help. "Fellow Taoist Lin, Princess Bai, please help us. We just accidentally stepped into this old forest, and they want to kill us. We already have companions who died. Fellow Taoist Lin, please help us." The few human cultivators knew that Lin Tian was very powerful, so they all had pleading looks on their faces. Lin Tian tilted his head and saw bloodstains on the ground. There were a few corpses lying on the ground. They had died very miserably. It was obvious that they had been tortured to death. Bai Chio whispered, "Mount Tianyao is the sacred land of the demonic beasts. They are usually very domineering. As long as a human cultivator crosses the border of Mount Tianyao, they will cruelly kill them." Staring ahead, Bai Chio continued, "Actually, these people are only close to the border of Mount Tianyao. They haven't really crossed over. These demonic beasts are too much." Lin Tian nodded and walked forward. Among the dozen demonic beast experts, the 2 great demonic beast leaders' expressions changed slightly. These days, Lin Tian's fierce reputation had spread very widely. Not long ago, 3 demonic beast kings of Mount Tianyao died in the Sword Tomb. Mount Tianyao also learned that Lin Tian had killed them through a secret method. Now that Lin Tian had appeared, the 2 great demonic beasts' hearts skipped a beat. But soon, when they remembered that this was Mount Tianyao, their expressions became fierce again. "You've got guts to come here. You're courting death. Quickly inform the demonic beast kings that Lin Tian of the human clan is here." The 2 of them said coldly. "Yes." A Sea of Consciousness realm demonic beast ordered and rushed into Mount Tianyao. Lin Tian raised his hand, and a few sword beams flew out. With a puff, the demonic beast that was leaving was directly cut into pieces. Instantly, the human cultivators and the dozen or so demonic beast experts all changed expressions. This was close to Mount Tianyao. Someone actually dared to kill demonic beast cultivators here. Bai Chio opened her mouth, then curled her lips and didn't say anything. Normally, she would warn Lin Tian not to provoke the demonic beast mountain. But now, she wouldn't, because Lin Tian and Mount Tianyao had already become enemies. "Lin Tian, how dare you? You're courting death. Report to the demonic beast kings. Kill him by 1,000 cuts." The dozen or so demonic beast cultivators were furious. These demonic beast cultivators were afraid of Lin Tian, but they were also very angry. This was their demonic beast territory. Lin Tian smiled disdainfully and walked forward step by step. "You guys leave," he said to the human cultivators. After that, he turned his head and stared at the other demonic beast cultivators. In the Sword Tomb, the 3 demonic beast kings of Mount Tianyao chased after him several times, causing him and Bai Chio to almost die. He remembered this very clearly. Now that he was at this place, he naturally had to return the favor when he encountered the demonic beast cultivators of Mount Tianyao. How could he pretend that he didn't see them? "Thank you, fellow Taoist. Thank you. Fellow Taoist, be careful. Leave as soon as possible," the humans hurriedly said. With that, they quickly ran into the distance and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Seeing that they were escaping, the demonic beast cultivators wanted to stop them, but they didn't dare to. They all stared at Lin Tian vigilantly. Lin Tian walked forward and glanced at the corpses of the human cultivators lying on the ground. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. "You've gone too far by killing my fellow humans. They can't die in vain. I'll seek justice for them." As he spoke, he directly raised his hand. Streaks of sword light appeared horizontally, shaking the space and rushing forward like a rain of swords. Pooh! 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 Demonic blood splattered. In the blink of an eye, except for the 2 great demons, all the other demonic beast cultivators were killed. Lin Tian. The two great demons were shocked and furious. Mount Tianyao was the holy land of the demonic beasts. No one dared to kill people near Mount Tianyao, not even the masters of the holy lands. You have to die too. You have to be buried with the humans you killed. Lin Tian on Dao. He raised his large hand, and silver light flickered as he slapped forward. He had nothing to do with the human cultivators who died here, and he didn't really want to stand up for them. The reason he did that was just an excuse to attack. This guy, Bai Qiu muttered. She naturally knew what Lin Tian was thinking. However, she didn't say anything. She just watched quietly from the side because she didn't like the actions of these demonic beasts. Moreover, in the Sword Tomb, the three demon kings of Mount Tianyao chased after Lin Tian, which made her very angry. The large silver hand covered heaven and earth, covering the two great demons. Clang! Clang! The two great demons took out their supreme treasures and faced Lin Tian's large hand. Crack! Crack! The large silver hand fell with unstoppable force, directly shattering the two superior-grade supreme treasures. The two demon kings were terrified. They raised their demonic light to resist, but unfortunately, they couldn't stop it at all. How dare you? A cold shout sounded. In the distance, an even stronger demonic aura rushed over. Instantly, the two great demons were overjoyed. The true powerhouse of their lineage had arrived. Lin Tian, it's the Demon King, Bai Qiu reminded him. Lin Tian turned his head and saw a gray figure walking over from afar at an extremely fast speed. Stop, the person said coldly. It was a slightly withered figure, but his aura was very strong. He was at the first heaven of the Immortal Ascension realm. Do you think I'll stop just because you say so? Lin Tian was disdainful. The large hand that was pressing down didn't change its momentum. It directly descended, and its power became even stronger, shattering the protective demonic light of the two great demons on the spot. No! Demon King, save us! The two great demons were terrified. The large silver hand descended, and it was as if an ancient mountain was pressing down on them. They couldn't resist at all. Pooh! Pooh! Two streaks of blood mist exploded, and the two great demons were directly destroyed in body and soul. In the distance, the Demon King who was walking over was instantly furious. A vast demonic aura soared into the sky. You're courting death. The void shook, and the Demon King directly reached out a large hand. Boundless demonic light covered the sky and pressed down on Lin Tian. P.S. Happy New Year's Eve, everyone. End of chapter. Chapter 408. The massive gray hand covered the sky, causing the space to rumble and rumble. Retreat! Bai Qiu's expression changed. This was a palm strike from a demon king in the Immortal Ascension realm. Although it didn't display any divine power, its pure physique was extremely terrifying. How dare you kill my people outside Mount Tianyao? Even the sacred land master will die. The demon king said coldly. Suddenly, the gray hand that descended from the sky became even more powerful, and its demonic aura swept in all directions. Lin Tianling smiled. He turned his palm into a fist and punched towards the sky. Dong! The terrifying punch caused the space to collapse. The Demon King's expression changed drastically. He was shocked by the terrifying strength. Yoopft! The fist and palm collided. Instantly, blood splattered everywhere. The Demon King grunted. His right hand was directly smashed into pieces by Lin Tianling. Pieces of flesh and bones fell from the sky. Bai Qiu's expression changed. Her mouth formed an O shape. Isn't this too crazy? Her eyes widened. A cultivator in the second firmament of the Immortal Ascension realm actually smashed one of the Demon King's arms with a punch. The Demon King roared in anger. Human, losing an arm, and it was injured by a human cultivator who was far weaker than him, made the Demon King extremely angry. Its old face became ferocious. Lin Tianling smiled and appeared beside Bai Qiu in a flash. Let's go, he said to Bai Qiu and held her hand. He used the yin and yang duality array and instantly left. His current physique was very strong, but his cultivation was much weaker than an immortal Ascension Realm cultivator. Although the other party couldn't kill him, it wouldn't be easy for him to kill the other party either. It would take a lot of time and true essence. Most importantly, this place was near Mount Tianyao. If he provoked a few more Demon Kings, he would be in danger and might be suppressed. The Demon King roared, but Lin Tianling was too fast. It couldn't catch up in time. Dozens of miles away, Lin Tianling stopped. He let go of Bai Chio's hand and slowly walked forward. This place was already very far away from Mount Heavenly Demon, so he wasn't worried about anything. Bai Chio widened his eyes and stared at Lin Tian as if he was looking at a monster. He said, "You brat, your physical body is getting more and more terrifying. When you tempered your body with dragon blood, the effect was so exaggerated. With your current physique, if you approach an ordinary transcending celestial expert at close range, you can definitely smash him to death. It's not bad. How lucky. I can actually use dragon blood to temper my body. Even some of the Nirvana saints of ancient times didn't have such luck." Bai Chio looked envious. "Good luck?" Lin Tian narrowed his eyes and said, "Why don't we collect some dragon blood for you the next time we meet that dead dragon and let you bathe in it? It will first burn all your skin, then regenerate, burn again, and regenerate again. Even your face will fester. Of course, the prerequisite is that you can guarantee that you can survive the dragon blood." "I know. I've seen your miserable state back then. I don't want it." Bai Chio ground his teeth. She was a beautiful girl. How could she bear to see her skin fester? It would be better to just kill her. Lin Tian laughed, knocked Bai Chio's forehead, and continued to walk forward. In the next few days, the two of them didn't go to the cultivation world. They shuttled through some ordinary mountains and forests on foot. Sometimes they fought with wild beasts, sometimes they played with small animals. It was very peaceful. Another 2 days passed. The two of them walked into another small forest. There were many wild fruits in the forest. Lin Tian picked some. They tasted sweet and delicious. "This kind of life is really good. If only we could live like this forever. I won't catch reincarnated bodies anymore," Bai Chio said. Lin Tian was speechless. He rolled his eyes and said, "Why don't we live in seclusion in the mountains and take a few children to your family in a few years? At that time, your family will have to acknowledge us. Then you can follow me through mountains and rivers every day. We can walk through the forest and plant a few acres of fertile land. How about that?" Bai Chio was stunned. Then she narrowed her eyes and put her beautiful face in front of Lin Tian's eyes. "Okay, let's consummate our marriage." A faint virgin fragrance entered his nose. Coupled with Bai Chio's beautiful face, Lin Tian's heart suddenly rippled. He blushed and turned his face away. "Lecherous thoughts, but no guts," Bai Chio snorted. Lin Tian blushed with shame. He originally wanted to tease Bai Chio, but he didn't expect this girl to suddenly become so fierce. Time flashed by. Another 2 days passed. The two of them were still walking in the forest. Lin Tian always chose some remote paths to walk on. There was no noise, no roars of wild beasts, only the occasional chirping of birds, which made people feel more peaceful. "Hey, how long are we going to wander around? When are we going to the sea?" Bai Chio asked. "Didn't you say that you liked this kind of life? Why are you impatient after a few days? You also said that you want to have children with me. In the end, you didn't have children," Bai Chio retorted. Lin Tian, he coughed dryly and said, "Little girl, there's something wrong with your state of mind. Do you want me to teach you Tai Chi to adjust it?" "Tai Chi? What's that?" Bai Chio curled her lips. "Good stuff." Lin Tian smiled. He walked to the front and stretched his body. His body moved freely. His mind moved with his mind, and his mind moved with his heart. He waved his fists and palms freely in the forest. Bai Chio squatted at the side and blinked her big eyes at Lin Tian. At first, she didn't pay much attention, but gradually, she felt that Lin Tian's body became very ethereal. Even her heart became calmer, and a sense of peace appeared in her heart. Lin Tian moved his hands. Sometimes he punched, sometimes he palmed, sometimes he was gentle, sometimes he was firm. In the past, a human ancestor deduced and created Tai Chi. What is Tai Chi? The whole universe is Tai Chi. The void in all directions is Tai Chi. The number of 50 is Tai Chi. The combination of yin and yang is Tai Chi. The 3,000 great Tao is Tai Chi. Lin Tian's body moved. His voice was calm, and every word floated out. Tai Chi was a precious inheritance passed down from ancient China. It had a very obvious effect on the cultivator's chi, form, and spirit. He liked it very much when he was in that world and often studied it. He even practiced Tai Chi with some old people. He had dabbled in Tai Chi Palm, and so on. At this time, he was excited and practiced it again. He felt a sense of comfort that he had never felt before. The sun seemed to have become brighter. Tai Chi is human. Tai Chi is material. Tai Chi is heart. Tai Chi is Tao. Tai Chi is reason. His expression was peaceful, and his voice was even calmer. With these sounds, the quiet little forest seemed to become even quieter. Birds flew over, hares leapt past, and even wild bears appeared in the distance. They all seemed very quiet as they surrounded Lin Tian, watching him from afar. Bai Qiu stood up. Her beautiful eyes were shining as she stared straight ahead. God, this guy actually has such a side to him? She was shocked. At this time, she stared at Lin Tian. She felt like she was looking at a fairy with an indescribable temperament. Unconsciously, she was stunned. It was not until 15 minutes later, when Lin Tian stopped, that she came back to her senses. How do you feel? Lin Tian asked. Bai Qiu widened her eyes. Amazing. Where did you learn this Saint art? She had only watched Lin Tian practice once, but she felt that her state of mind had improved a lot. She was very shocked. The divine treasure of my hometown. Lin Tian smiled. Tai Chi was not a saint art. In that world, many people knew it. It was just used to nourish one's health. However, he was very happy to be called a saint art. He accepted it happily. Teach me. Bai Qiu clenched her small fists and stared at Lin Tian with shining eyes. Okay. Lin Tian smiled. There were many small animals around. Lin Tian taught Bai Qiu Tai Chi and the principles of Tai Chi for a moment. It formed a beautiful scenery. In the blink of an eye, another 5 days passed. Let's go, little Qiu. Let's go to the sea. Lin Tian Dao. The morning sun had just risen, sprinkling light on the forest. Through the gaps of the old trees, the ground was reflected with spots of light. These days, he and Bai Qiu spent 24 hours a day quietly together, admiring the scenery and teaching Bai Qiu Tai Chi. His state of mind was also harmonized, and his cultivation base was stabilized to the highest level. Okay, I'll lead the way, and you'll be my follower, Bai Qiu said. Okay. Lin Tian smiled. The two soared into the air and left the old forest. The sea was the largest training ground of the second heaven. It had existed for a very long time, located at the end of the southern part of the second heaven. It was very vast and boundless. There were many large islands in the sea, and there were many powerful sea monsters and beasts. Every day, countless cultivators would train there. The famous powerhouses of this heaven had all fought there. It was precisely because of this that there were many treasures in the sea. In some places, one could even find some cultivation insights left behind by the ancients, which contained precious techniques. Moreover, because the spiritual chi in the sea was very rich, and it was surrounded by the sea, some treasure islands had rare heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Once they were obtained, they could be sold for a shocking price. About 2 days later, the two appeared in front of a large sea. As far as the eye could see, the sea was boundless. Occasionally, waves would roll up, as if there were angry dragons roaring at the bottom of the sea. This is the sea? Lin Tianwei was stunned. He looked around. There was indeed a boundless sea in front of him, but he didn't see any islands. Looking around, he saw many houses, and some ordinary people lived in them. No, this is just the starting point. We need to cross the sea by boat to reach the sea. Bai Qiu explained and pointed forward. Lin Tianwei looked in the direction Bai Qiu was pointing at. There was a mouth in the distance, and many large ships were docked there. Many cultivators surrounded it and boarded the ships one by one. Soon, A large ship moved and left the mouth of the sea, sailing into the distance. Most of the cultivators who go to the sea to train are below the airborne realm. They can't fly on their own, so naturally, they can only take ships. Moreover, even if they can fly on their own, they choose to go by ship. After all, this place is still very far from the real sea, and flying is too expensive. Moreover, there are powerful monsters in the sea, and ordinary airborne realm cultivators can't resist them. Generally speaking, only immortal ascension realm cultivators dare to go to the sea alone. Baichio explained. Chapter 409. There was a huge harbor in front of the immensity sea. It was not much different from the mortal world. There were more than 10 large ships docked at the harbor. The inner layer was made of painted wood, and the outer layer was inlaid with a layer of iron to protect against the impact of the waves. If it was only made of wood, it would be destroyed in the stormy waves. Please search Product and Book Yin Network to see the most complete. Novel and Tian and Baichio boarded one of the large ships together. There were many cultivators on the ship. Most of them were itinerant cultivators or disciples of small sections. When they saw the two of them board the ship, their expressions changed. Many of them carefully retreated to the side and stared at Lin Tian with some fear. However, they quickly lowered their heads. "Look, you're so infamous that everyone is afraid of you," Baichio said. "If you talk nonsense again, I'll knock you," Lin Tian said. Baichio harumphed. "I'm telling the truth." Lin Tian narrowed his eyes. "If you provoke me again, I'll send you back to the Bai family." "You?" Baichio's eyes widened. Lin Tian laughed loudly, finding it amusing. There was a slight sea breeze at the mouth of the sea, bringing with it a wisp of moisture and a salty smell. Not long after the two of them boarded the ship slowly moved away from the mouth of the sea and headed towards the depths of the sea. At the bottom of the ship, where it touched the surface of the sea, the white waves surged back, giving people a comfortable feeling. The ship moved very slowly at first, but gradually, its speed increased. Lin Tian and Baichio stood at the bow of the ship. The space around them was very wide, and many people stayed far away from the two of them. That was because they were wary of Lin Tian. At this time, you're a natural escape route. It's great that you've opened up such a large space, Baichio said. Lin Tian pursed his lips and could not be bothered to say anything else. Whoosh! As the ship moved deeper into the sea, the wind and waves gradually became stronger. However, it wasn't that strong. Baichio leaned against the side of the ship. Her beautiful hair danced in the wind. Coupled with her beauty, she looked like an angel who had fallen into the mortal world. Lin Tian stared at her and did not look away for a moment. Isn't she beautiful? Baichio looked over. It is indeed beautiful, but can you not say it out loud? It won't be pretty if I say it out loud. Lin Tian was speechless. Whether I say it or not, the truth is right there. If you refute it, it proves that you are guilty. You must like me. Baichio glared at him. Lin Tian rolled his eyes. What kind of bandit logic is this? Baichio narrowed his eyes and leaned towards Lin Tian. Do you want to have a baby? Lin Tian took a step back. Princess Bai, pay attention to your image. Do you still have the temperament of a princess of the Bai family? What eldest princess? I'm just a girl. It's just that I'm a little devastatingly beautiful. Do you like me? Baichio took a step forward. Can you not be so narcissistic? Lin Tian was speechless. After thinking about it, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. It seemed like Baichio was teasing him. I am confident. Baichio leaned forward again. Lin Tian's face darkened. He was a normal man. What was the meaning of being teased by a little girl like this? He took a step forward and stared at Baichio. If you dare to take another step forward, I'll throw myself on you and do something like having a baby. Baichio was shocked. Her face turned red, and she took a few steps back. You're so shameless. There are so many people here. Lin Tian wanted to vomit blood. This girl was actually conflicted because there were so many people here, and not because he wanted to do something to her. Baichio glanced at Lin Tian and harumphed again. The two of them stood together and looked at the crashing water at the bottom of the boat. It was quite a leisurely scene. The waves are coming. The boatman shouted. The originally calm sea suddenly shook. Large waves came from the front and crashed into the hull of the boat. A loud noise came from the hull of the boat. Many cultivators even lost their balance. Lin Tian and Bai Chio's cultivation levels were very high. Even though the hull of the boat was shaking violently, the two of them stood still on the spot. Bai Chio said, "This is the best way to travel to the ocean. If it were any other place, the waves would be even bigger, and we might even encounter a huge whirlpool with a suction force and be pulled into an unknown territory." Rumble. Large waves surged, each higher than the last, crashing onto the large boat continuously. Dozens of breaths passed in the blink of an eye, but the waves did not stop. Why are the waves so fierce this time? They're even stronger than the previous years. Seriously, how long has it been? It's still not stopping. Don't mind it. Just stand still. Some cultivators whispered to each other. It was normal for there to be waves on the ocean. Many cultivators muttered a few words before quieting down again. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The waves came one after another and became even more ferocious. Why hasn't it stopped yet? Haven't the waves lasted for too long? In the past, it would only last a dozen breaths at most. Yeah, it's almost been 100 breaths now. A cultivator who had been to the ocean said. At the bow of the boat, Lin Tian and Bai Chio stood together and looked at the surface of the sea. After a while, they frowned slightly. Lean against me. Something's coming. He pulled Bai Chio to his side. Bai Chio was stunned. What boom? A loud sound interrupted Bai Chio. A huge tentacle covered in ugly lumps rushed out from the bottom of the sea. In an instant, the expressions of all the cultivators on the boat changed. Sea demon? That's an abyss-breaking beast. Damn it. Why did we encounter it here? Everyone's expression changed. Boom! Another loud sound was heard. Hundreds of tentacles suddenly rushed out from the surface of the sea. They were all very thick and strong, pressing towards the large boat. With a bang, the large boat was crushed in an instant. Puff! 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 Blood mist exploded. Some of the weaker cultivators were directly crushed by this attack. Lin Tian pulled Bai Chio into the air and looked down. With a bang, a huge monster rushed out of the sea. It was as huge as a small mountain. It was a sea demon that looked like an octopus. It was an abyss-breaking beast and was very powerful. It rarely appeared in this place. It's comparable to the seventh firmament of the Zephyr realm. Lin Tian on Dao. The large boat was shattered. The hundreds of tentacles of the abyss-breaking beast scattered, causing many people to scream in fear. Some Zephyr realm cultivators soared into the sky, but most of them were in the Sea of Consciousness realm or Sea of Consciousness realm. Some cultivators floated on the surface of the water, their faces pale with fear as they frantically fled into the distance. Help! In the distance, there was an old man on the surface of the sea. He was the boatman. An abyss-breaking beast's leg whipped towards him. However, many cultivators were in chaos. They couldn't even protect themselves, so who would have the time to save him? Even if their lives weren't in danger, no cultivator would care about the life and death of a mortal. That was because, compared to cultivators, mortals were too insignificant. Lin Tian tilted his head and said to Bai Chio, "Stand here and don't move." As soon as he finished speaking, his figure disappeared and appeared in front of the old man in the next moment. Clang! The sound of a sword rang out. It slashed horizontally and cut off the tentacles that were whipping towards the boatman. He pulled the old man up and took more than 10 steps horizontally. He appeared in front of a huge wreckage of the ship and placed the old man on it. Although the boatman was a mortal, he often sailed and had no problems in water. This place was far away from the abyss-breaking beast, so it was safe. "Thank you, thank you, thank you," the boatman said repeatedly. "No need." Lin Tian shook his head and moved away, returning to Bai Chio's side. Bai Chio stared at him and said with a smile, "I wanted to save someone just now, but you beat me to it. You're a good person." "I've never been a bad person." Lin Tian's face darkened. Bai Chio snorted. "You're a ferocious person, definitely. Otherwise, why would those people stay away from you when you were on the ship?" Lin Tian directly gave her a knock on the head. "You're asking for a beating." Boom! The surface of the sea boiled. The hundreds of tentacles of the abyss-breaking beast swept across the sky. Just by waving randomly, it crushed many cultivators. Some Zephyr powerhouses even screamed as they were crushed by a tentacle and turned into a cloud of blood mist. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed. This abyss-breaking beast physique was not bad. As if knowing what he was thinking, Bai Qiu said, even if the demonic beasts on the ground and in the sea reach the Zephyr level, they do not transform. They cultivate in their most primitive state. This way, their lifespans are very long. At the same level of cultivation, these demonic beasts that have not transformed live much longer than demonic beasts that have transformed. They also live longer than human cultivators of the same level. Moreover, because they have been cultivating in their beast form, their physiques are also much stronger than cultivators of the same level. It's very scary. Lin Tian nodded. There were advantages to transforming for demonic beasts, but there were also disadvantages. Ah! Screams sounded from time to time. The abyss-breaking beast was very strong. In the blink of an eye, more than 10 cultivators had died. Among them, there were even 3 Zephyr powerhouses. For a moment, the sea was dyed red by blood. Some cultivators were eaten by the abyss-breaking beast as food. Help! Someone save us! Save us! Why are we encountering an abyss-breaking beast here? Does God want us to die? Many people were terrified. The abyss-breaking beast was already very strong. It was comparable to the 7th plane of the Zephyr plane. Because it was in the sea, its combat ability was even stronger. Sea demons of this level usually lived in the inner regions of the sea and would not appear in the outer regions. Now that they had encountered such a powerful abyss-breaking beast, a sense of despair rose in the hearts of these cultivators. It was too strong. They were no match for it. Lin Tian leaned against Bai Qiu and frowned slightly. Back off a little, he said. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a buzz. A gray, ancient mountain rushed out from behind him. The barren heaven world. The barren heaven world shook. Under Lin Tian's will, it floated forward and pressed down on the abyss-breaking beast's head. Suddenly, there was a scream. The abyss-breaking beast's huge body trembled and flipped over in the sea. Many cultivators looked over. Seeing Lin Tian make a move, many of them shrank back in fear and gratitude. Run away, someone said. The Zephyr Plane cultivators took to the air. The cultivators below that level of Zephyr Plane ran away in the sea. Suddenly, there was a cold snort. A few large ships sailed over from afar. From one of the large ships, a muscular figure rushed out. Demonic light filled the sky as he rushed over. In the blink of an eye, he was already closing in on Lin Tian. That is, the current sacred son of Mount Tianyao of the demonic beasts, the barren demon body. He's going to the sea too. Everyone's expression changed. Chapter 410. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at Pitsong with a desolate demon physique. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Reading a book W? WW? 1? K? A Wansen book S? H? UCC, when we hunted you down before, Mount Tianyao sent out many people to stand up for you, including several demon kings. They were afraid that you wouldn't be able to defeat me. Why? After hiding for so long, you dare to come out and face me in person? He had an indifferent expression. That's right. How cowardly. Bai Qiu echoed from the side. Putsong's eyes were cold, and there was lightning intertwined in them. His silver hair danced wildly, and there was a fierce and vicious aura. Puny human ant, do you think you can threaten this king? What a joke! His eyes were full of killing intent. With a boom, the sea rolled with him as the center, and stormy waves rushed up. Bai Qiu's expression changed. He felt Putsong's strength at this time. He was much stronger than when he met him at Wuji Gate. Lin Tianling smiled. No wonder you dare to come out. It turns out that you have reached the 4th heaven of the Zephyr realm. The people of Mount Tianyao think that you have some ability to protect yourself, so they dare to let you out to train? He spoke very rudely, which immediately stunned the surrounding cultivators. The saint of the demon clan had the desolate demon king body. His battle prowess was extremely strong. Moreover, he was very domineering and strong. He could kill ordinary, immortal-reaching realm experts. However, from Lin Tian's mouth, he only had a trace of the ability to protect himself. This caused many cultivators to gulp. "This guy is really fierce," someone muttered. Putsong's silver hair danced wildly, and his eyes were extremely sharp. He took a step forward and directly slapped toward Lin Tian with his palm. Boom! A simple palm cut through the void, producing a series of rumbles, and the sea water rolled back into the sky. This kind of palm power was a bit terrifying, and many cultivators gasped in shock. Even some of the seventh heaven of the Zephyr realm cultivators were shocked. Such a palm could easily smash them into pieces. Lin Tianling smiled and punched down. The fist and the palm collided with each other, and a loud bang was heard. Then, two huge waves surged out from behind the two of them, reaching a height of more than 5 feet. Putsong's eyes flashed with a strange light. He had the wild Demon King body. Now that his cultivation had improved, his physique had become even stronger. He was more powerful than the average Immortal Ascension realm elite. But Lin Tian blocked his palm with ease. On the other side, Lin Tian was also secretly shocked. He had tempered his body with the dragon's blood, and his physical body was more than twice as strong as before. However, his punch didn't hurt Putsong. This made him frown, and he secretly thought that the wild Demon King physique was indeed very powerful. Reading 1? K. A. N. Shoot, CC human. You become stronger too. 2 beams of demonic light shot out from Putsong's eyes. Saying this, Putsong didn't stop. He raised his left hand and sent out a second palm strike. If I don't become stronger, how can I take your head? Lin Tian's expression was indifferent. He also raised his left hand and met Putsong's attack with an iron fist. Another loud bang was heard. The 2 great elites' fists and palms collided. Waves rolled out in all directions with the 2 of them as the center. Roar! With a loud roar, the abyss-breaking beast stood up at this time. Its 100 legs moved together, and it pressed down on Lin Tian, who was closest to it. Lin Tianling stared at Putsong coldly. Without looking back, he slapped backward. With a scream, the abyss-breaking beast's huge body was sent flying several feet away. It rolled into the sea and smashed into the waves. Such a simple slap could send such a huge abyss-breaking beast flying. He's even more beastly than a beast. Many people's hearts trembled. In the blink of an eye, Lin Tian and Putsong were fighting again. Their fists and palms collided, and transparent ripples were created. The raging waves were several feet high, and they were much more terrifying than the waves caused by the abyss-breaking beast before. On the broken ship, many cultivators fell to the bottom of the sea. Seeing this, they all swam away. At the same time, the ship that Putsong was on was also moving away. They were all frightened by the battle between Lin Tian and Putsong. Boom! The surface of the sea rolled, and a huge head rushed out. The abyss-breaking beast rushed up again. This time, it stared at Putsong. Its demon eyes were blood-red, and it opened its bloody mouth to devour Putsong. Putsong stared at Lin Tian and kicked the abyss-breaking beast dozens of feet away. Blood floated in the air. Hiss! Everyone gasped and shrank their necks. Many people felt that the abyss-breaking beast was too pitiful. It was extremely powerful and comparable to a 7th firmament immortal realm cultivator. But now, in its own territory, it was first slapped down by Lin Tianyi and then kicked away by the desolate demon physique. It was really pitiful. Read 1 book 1? K. A bookend? CC, Lin Tian mocked. Aren't you the saint of the demon race? Aren't you very protective of your people? Why are you attacking now? The sea demons and the heavenly demon mountain are not of the same race. Putsong's eyes were full of wildness. Hypocrite, Lin Tian said in disdain. The 2 of them were dozens of feet away from each other. They stared at each other with arcs of electricity flashing on the surface of their bodies. These were the sparks produced by the friction between the true essence and the demon light. With a boom, a wave appeared on the sea. The abyss-breaking beast that was kicked away by the desolate demon physique stood up again. Staring at Lin Tian and the desolate demon physique, the abyss-breaking beast roared, and the entire sea suddenly became violet. Boom! Boom! At the same time, two terrifying auras rushed up. Lin Tian's body flickered with silver light, and Putsong's body was surrounded by a vast demon light. In an instant, two powerful energy waves swept in all directions, shaking up strong winds and waves. The abyss-breaking beast trembled in fear. It immediately shrank back, its huge body trembling. Then, the abyss-breaking beast roared and directly fled into the distance as if it had been greatly wronged. Everyone! Behind Putsong, a barbaric mountain appeared, supporting the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness. Lin Tianling snorted. He stepped forward like a reborn god, shaking with every step. The yin-yang lotus sea appeared, floating in the air. Yin and yang auras intertwined, sacred and terrifying. In an instant, the sea was boiling. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two of them charged together. The desolate demon physique transformed into thousands of demon beasts that trampled on the void. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. The yin-yang lotus sea swayed like an immortal sword across the sky, piercing through everything and heading straight for Putsong's sea of consciousness. Putsong raised his hand and used the great divine massacre handprint, shattering the sky. Kill! Putsong's eyes were filled with a wild light. The demon light outside his body condensed into demon clouds. Let's see how strong your imperial physique is, Lin Tianling said. He used the divining divine technique to activate the Bai family's supreme divine palm, which clashed with Putsong's great divine massacre handprint. Then, in the divine cry palace, the barren heaven realm, the celestial Lord Doran's enlightenment place, the blood-colored crack, and many methods appeared behind him. In an instant, the sea shook, and more waves swept in all directions. The waves rose more than 10 feet high, as if there was an ancient ferocious beast turning its body on the sea. Many nearby cultivators were frightened, and their faces turned pale with fright. Not far away, the big ship that Putsong was on was directly overturned by the waves. Some cultivators rose into the air and flew into the distance. Those cultivators below the airborne realm were very unlucky. Many of them were knocked down by the waves, choking on more than 10 mouthfuls of water. Only then did they emerge from the distance, looking very miserable. This lunatic, is he trying to kill us? Someone cursed. Of course, the person who spoke was very quiet. After all, Lin Tian's fierce reputation was too well known, even more so than the desolate demon physique. No one dared to casually talk back. That was simply courting death. Rumble? The waves rolled and rushed into the distance. The boatman that Lin Tian rescued earlier carefully held the remains of the ship. At the moment when the waves rushed over, he was immediately frightened. He had been sailing for so many years and had encountered many storms, but he had never encountered such a terrifying scene. Bai Qiu tilted her head and saw this scene and curled her lips. She muttered and moved horizontally, gently sending the boatman far away until they reached the calm sea surface. The boatman was grateful and kept bowing. This place is not far from the sea. Old man, you should go back first. It's very dangerous to stay on the sea surface. Bai Qiu said. After saying this, she rose again and returned to the edge of the battlefield. Boom! The true Yuan light and the demonic light collided with each other, causing the space to rumble and distort, distorting the space around them. In just a short moment, the battle between Lin Tian and Putsong had reached a white-hot stage. The two of them used great magic one after another, and even a lot of the sea water was evaporated. Many cultivators were so shocked that they felt a chill down their spines. Two vicious individuals. Bai Qiu muttered. Lin Tian's expression was indifferent. The yin-yang lotus sea circled around his body, making him seem aloof and unapproachable, as if he was a Ruoxian deity. On the other side, the desolate demon body Putsong was ferocious and tyrannical. His eyes were full of a wild radiance, and every move he made was tyrannical. Hong! The space trembled. Each time the two clashed, the skies would overturn. Sea water would surge into the heavens. The scene was horrifying. At this time, 7 or 8 large ships already gathered around the periphery. When they saw the battle here, they all stopped. A battle of this level was just too terrifying. Normal cultivators would feel a chill run down their backs if they got a bit closer, and those large ships were even more so. As long as they touched the slightest bit of secret technique radiance, they would immediately break apart. Suddenly, a streak of immortal light appeared, rushing out from a large ship in the distance. A middle-aged man walked out. Above his head was a broken green and white porcelain bowl. Immortal Tao energy swirled about, making many people look over. What a coincidence! The middle-aged man sneered. This person was dressed in brown clothes. His expression was cold as he stared at Lin Tian ruthlessly. Master Muyang Feng of Wujigate? He seems to be targeting Lin Tian. What's going on? Didn't the Limitless Sect Master personally order that no one in the sect is allowed to touch Lin Tian? Many people were surprised. Lin Tian tilted his head and stared at Muyang Feng. A cold light flashed in his eyes. For the sake of the Limitless Sect Master, get lost as far as you can, he said coldly. The Limitless Sect Master had helped him that day and sent the Limitless Peak Master to save his life. Although he wanted to kill Muyang Feng, he restrained himself in the end. Muyang Feng's face turned cold, and his killing intent became stronger. You killed my disciple and humiliated me. Since we've met today, do you think you can still live? If I kill you and obtain the precious technique for the sect, do you think the sect master will blame me? As soon as he finished speaking, the stone bowl above Muyang Feng's head trembled, emitting an even stronger immortal Tao radiance. Immortal artifact. It's incomplete, but its power is still very terrifying. Muyang Feng is at the peak of the Zephyr realm. With such a cultivation base to activate the incomplete immortal artifact, he's definitely invincible under the immortal realm. Many people's expressions changed. Chapter 411. The incomplete immortal bowl bobbed up and down, emitting strands of immortal light, causing many people to be shocked. No pop-up window. This was a mid-grade immortal artifact. Although it was incomplete, its power was terrifying enough. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. I'll give you one more chance. Get lost as far as you can. Don't seek death for yourself. Muyang Feng's eyes were cold as he sneered again and again. You are very powerful. I might not be able to kill you in a head-on battle. During this time, Lin Tian's various deeds had spread throughout the second heaven. He could fight head-on with a king physique and even kill a connecting immortal powerhouse. Muyang Feng was naturally very clear about it. But so what? You can't overturn the heavens in the face of an immortal artifact. As soon as his words fell, the incomplete immortal bowl shone brightly with a bang, and its power became even stronger. This, an immortal artifact, even if it's incomplete, is so terrifying. Retreat! Many people's hearts palpitated. The incomplete stone bowl trembled. An immortal light fell, setting off a large wave. Muyang Feng held the stone bowl and pressed towards Lin Tian step by step, not hiding his killing intent at all. This incomplete immortal bowl was borrowed from an old friend to better temper himself in the sea, but he didn't expect to meet Lin Tian here. This made Muyang Feng feel very lucky. With an immortal artifact in hand, it was too easy for him to suppress Lin Tian. Boom! A ray of immortal light shot out from the stone bowl above Muyang Feng's head, turning into a divine rainbow that shot towards Lin Tian. In an instant, the waves rolled up dozens of feet high, and the destructive aura was terrifying. Terrifying. That madman. How is he going to block such power? Many people's hearts palpitated. The immortal artifact's light reached the extreme, and in the blink of an eye, it landed in front of Lin Tian. In the distance, Bai Qiu was angry. He began to summon the immortal gourd in his body, and at the same time, he flashed towards Lin Tian. Lin Boom! An immortal might that was even more powerful than the immortal bowl surged. A precious mirror rushed out from Lin Tian's body, flickering with faint multicolored light. With a chi sound, the immortal Tao-killing light that Peak Master Mu Yang unleashed was directly shattered. This is immortal? Immortal artifact? It seems to be a middle-grade celestial artifact, and it's complete. Everyone's expression changed drastically. Bai Qiu was originally prepared to use the immortal gourd to assist Lin Tian, but at this moment, she stopped in her tracks and widened her beautiful eyes. When did this guy have an immortal artifact? She paused, then widened her eyes again. He obtained it in the depths of the sword tomb? Needless to say, her intuition had always been rather accurate. This treasure mirror was indeed obtained by Lin Tian in the sword tomb, and it was found within the stone ring of the remains of a king. It was a mid-grade immortal artifact, and it was preserved extremely well. Boom! The precious mirror rose and fell. Radiance interweaved, and wisps of light trembled. The desolate demon body, Patsong's eyes shot out two streaks of light. They were like real divine swords, extremely oppressive. Muyang Feng's expression changed. His originally cold eyes instantly disappeared. Staring at the flawless mirror above Lin Tian's head, he couldn't help but take a step back. His face was full of disbelief. How did you obtain such a treasure? A perfect immortal artifact's power was definitely stronger than his broken immortal bowl by more than one level. Lin Tian's face was expressionless as he stepped towards Muyang Feng. Limitless sect master's kindness. I will find a way to repay it in the future. Murderous intent flowed in his eyes. Just like Muyang Feng's at the beginning, he didn't conceal it at all. I gave you a chance, but unfortunately, you insisted on seeking death. Boom! An even more tyrannical treasure light rushed up, pressing down in all directions. The treasure mirror spun and flew out from Lin Tian's head, directly pressing down on Muyang Feng. Muyang Feng's expression changed greatly, and he took out the broken, immortal bowl to block. Boom! 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 The two collided with each other. This chapter is not finished. Please turn the page. A thump sounded. In all directions, waves swept through the sky. The highest one rushed up to a height of 300 feet. The entire sea was boiling crazily. Most of the cultivators' hearts palpitated, and they were terrified. This was the collision of immortal artifacts. Crack! A crisp sound rang out, and it was very ear-piercing. This was the 9th collision. As the treasure mirror pressed down, the broken immortal bowl was directly shattered into pieces. A broken immortal artifact was destroyed just like that. This is a waste. Really, many people felt their hearts ache. That was an immortal artifact. Although it was broken, it was still priceless. But now it was destroyed so easily. On the battlefield, Muyang Feng's expression changed greatly, and his eyes were full of sinister. He borrowed this immortal bowl from his good friend. Now that it was destroyed, how could he explain it to his old friend? Lin Tian, you deserve to die. He roared angrily. Lin Tian's expression was cold. He had already engraved his divine sense imprint on the treasure mirror. At this moment, he used the weapon-controlling technique. With a thought, the treasure mirror directly pressed down on Muyang Feng. Muyang Feng was shocked. He used the Tombfall immortal light to resist, but it was useless. He was instantly swept away. For a moment, bright red blood splattered on the surface of the sea. Muyang Feng's hair was disheveled, and he was in an extremely sorry state. Lin Tian's thought moved, and the treasure mirror pressed down again. This time, the power emitted by the treasure mirror became even more powerful. It was like a falling immortal mountain. Muyang Feng's face was pale, and his body was covered in blood. His eyes were filled with fear. Lin Tian, stop. Quickly stop. For the sake of the fact that we used to belong to the same sect, don't kill me. He stared at Lin Tian and said in fear, didn't you say that you are indebted to the sect leader? For the sake of the sect leader's kindness, let me go. If the immortal artifact was destroyed, he could find other ways to repay it. However, if he lost his life, then he would have nothing. Lin Tian smiled disdainfully. Boom! The treasure mirror shook the sky and crushed the surface of the sea. No! Muyang Feng shouted. Unfortunately, he could not block the flawless, immortal artifact at all. He was directly suppressed into a cloud of blood mist. In all directions, the cultivators' hearts palpitated. Muyang Feng arrived with the damaged immortal bowl. How terrifying and domineering was he when he first appeared. However, in the blink of an eye, he was killed by Lin Tian. This scene stunned many people and made them speechless. This guy. In the distance, Bai Qiu muttered softly. In the battlefield, the treasure mirror's immortal light intertwined and flew back to Lin Tian's head on its own. After killing Muyang Feng, Lin Tian acted as if nothing had happened. He turned his head and looked at the desolate demon physique, Patsong. Seeing his action, the cultivators on the sea changed their expressions again. Is he going to attack the saint of the monster clan? With the immortal artifact in hand, even the king physique might not be able to block this madman's ferocious power. Many people swallowed their saliva. Two cold lights shot out from the desolate demon physique's eyes. Do you think you can kill me? Lin Tian disdained. He took a step forward, and the treasure mirror above his head shook with strands of immortal light. For someone like you, why bother hiding? Take out your immortal artifact. The moment he saw the desolate demon physique on the sea, he felt the aura of an immortal artifact on the other party. In addition, the other party was the saint of the heavenly monster mountain, so he guessed that the other party had an immortal artifact on him. The desolate demon physique snorted coldly. With a boom, a giant bone appeared. What a strong demonic chi. Immortal artifact. It's an immortal artifact, and it's also a mid-grade immortal artifact. It's intact. Many people's expressions changed. The demonic light in the desolate demon physique's eyes intensified, and his aura also rose. This is my clan's old ancestor, a member of the heavenly monster mountain. Naturally forged from the spine of a fiend king who passed away in meditation, previously drinking the blood and soul of countless human race heavenly talents. He stared at Lin Tian, his head of silver hair flying about chaotically, his eyes deep, cruel, and bloodthirsty. What's the point of saying so much nonsense? Even if your heavenly monster mountain took your old ancestor's head to make a weapon, what does it have to do with me? Lin Tianling said. His words were disdainful, and there was a strong sense of sarcasm in them. He implied that the heavenly monster mountain was immoral, actually forging the spine of their own monster king into a weapon. The desolate demon physique's eyes narrowed. He naturally heard the sarcasm in Lin Tian's words, and the demonic light around his body became even more terrifying. Lin Tianling snorted. He took a step forward, and the treasure mirror shone brightly. Boom! The sea boiled, and waves swept through the sky. I'll kill you today. The desolate demon physique only had one sentence. The giant bone above his head shook violently, and a gray demonic light immediately pressed down on Lin Tian. Lin Tian moved his mind, and the treasure mirror released a deification, facing the giant bone above the desolate demon physique's head. Oh my God! Let's go! Retreat a little further. The two celestial artifacts of the two sects hadn't really collided yet, but the crowd on the sea was already in an uproar. Their expressions changed drastically, and they quickly retreated into the distance. Just now, Lin Tian's celestial artifact collided with Muyang Feng's damaged celestial bowl, which was already terrifying enough. Now, it collided with the desolate Demon King physique's flawless celestial artifact. How terrifying would that be? Celestial light and demonic light shook. Finally, the two celestial artifacts of the two sects collided. Boom! With a loud sound, the sea directly exploded. The sky collapsed inch by inch, and silver spatial turbulence spilled out. With the two celestial artifacts as the center, a hurricane suddenly appeared, and the waves became even more shocking. Many cultivators had already retreated far away, but their hearts still palpitated. They retreated into the distance again, only stopping when they were 10,000 feet away from the center of the battlefield. It's too terrifying. These two are even more terrifying than the average immortal-reaching realm expert. Monsters. Many people shrank their necks, only feeling a chill down their spines. Rumble. Beams of light shot out, and the celestial artifacts collided. The two of them also charged at each other. Kill! Patsong roared. His silver hair stood on end, and his eyes were extremely fierce. I'll beat you back to your original form, pluck off all your feathers, and chop off your bird head. Lin Tian was very direct. He directly supported the Yin-Yang Lotus Sea and attacked Patsong with the Spiritual Sea's avatar. The surface of the sea rolled and tumbled as the two fought. It was truly a shocking sight, and the waves overflowed into the heavens. At this point, except for Bai Qiu, who could still stand outside the battlefield, no one else dared to approach. They all retreated far away. Should I hit that Patsong staff? Bai Qiu muttered. Although her cultivation was only at the early stage of the Zephyr realm, and she was not good at fighting, she had the Lunar King physique after all. Even if her combat strength was not as good as Patsong's, it was not much weaker. Moreover, she had a high-grade immortal artifact with her. Boom! In front of them, Lin Tian and the desolate demon physique were fighting. Divine light was vast and suppressed all directions. The two of them were powerful, and they fought crazily. With a move of their immortal artifacts, everything was destroyed. In the blink of an eye, an hour passed. Both of them were injured, but their auras were even more ferocious. Kill! Patsong roared, his voice intimidating. Lin Tianling harumphed. He took a step forward, and the treasure mirror illuminated the surroundings. However, in the next moment, his expression changed. He suddenly stopped attacking and looked towards the bottom of the sea. P.S. I was urged by my father to go on a blind date. After half a day, I was depressed to death. Also, thank you, Marshal Dao Brother Ling Yun, for your 8,600 lateral coins. Thank you. There are many things to do after the new year. I'm really sorry to have troubled you guys these few days. End of chapter. Chapter 412. Lin Tian stopped in his tracks and stared at the surface of the sea as he took a step back. 1. Reading Book 1. K. A. N. S. C. C. Almost at the same time, the desolate demon body was also moved. He took back his immortal artifact and moved dozens of feet away. What's going on? Why did they suddenly separate? Many people were confused. At the next moment, the slightly calm sea boiled again, and even more violent waves swept out. With a rumble, the sea split from the middle, and a giant monster showed its head. It was bigger than a mountain and had hundreds of tentacles. It was the same as the previous abyss-breaking beast, but it was dozens of times bigger. Everyone looked over and saw the abyss-breaking beast that had escaped before on top of the giant monster's head. He beat the baby, and the baby's mother came out. Bai Qiu muttered. Lin Tian stepped on the yin and yang ho and appeared next to Bai Qiu in a flash. Let's go, he whispered and pulled Bai Qiu to run away. The old abyss-breaking beast that appeared was a bit scary. It was comparable to a peak mystic immortal, and even with immortal artifacts, it was impossible to stop it. Roar! With a loud roar, endless wind and waves were set off on the sea. The waves were hundreds of feet high, and it was horrifying. The old abyss-breaking beast stared at Lin Tian and Patsong. Its demon eyes were red, and it moved its 100 legs at the same time, lashing at the two. Lin Tian's expression changed. This power was too scary. He swept out a beam of immortal light with his mirror and pulled Bai Qiu to run away. At the same time, Patsong's expression also changed. He activated the giant bone shield and rushed to the sky. Boom! With the old abyss-breaking beast as the center, the sea in the middle fell, and the surrounding sea rose. The scene was magnificent, but even more terrifying. Such a scene was even more shocking than when Lin Tian and Patsong fought with immortal artifacts. How can there be such a powerful sea demon in this place? Retreat! Go! Go! Many people shouted, and the big ships in the distance quickly left, while the cultivators of the flight level flew into the distance. Lin Tian and Patsong were in big trouble. The old Panether beast stared at the two of them, its eyes filled with bloody light. It roared and hundreds of tentacles moved together, pressing down on the two of them again. Because Bai Qiu and Lin Tian were next to each other, Bai Qiu also suffered an unexpected calamity. The violent waves came crashing down again and again. Each wave was stronger than the previous one, and it could almost instantly kill an ordinary flight expert. One reading book 1? K? N? S? H? U? C? C? Damn Lin Tian, you're such an incompetent follower. Trouble follows you wherever you go. Bai Qiu was displeased. Lin Tian knocked on her head and said, "Take out your immortal artifact. We'll work together to fend them off and fly towards the depths of the sea." Bai Qiu nodded and took out her immortal gourd. Instantly, the immortal light shone brighter. However, compared to the old Nether beast's huge body, the immortal light that the two of them took out was not very strong, and it was torn apart immediately. Then, a huge tentacle pressed down on the two of them, and huge waves swept over them. Lin Tian was so shocked that he felt a chill down his spine. He pulled Bai Qiu behind him and used the divining divine technique. All kinds of divining divine elephants appeared together. The old Nether beast's tentacle pressed down and crushed all the divine elephants on the spot. Boom! Another wave came crashing down. Even though Lin Tian and Bai Qiu used their immortal artifacts to resist, it was useless. They were directly drowned. At the bottom of the sea, the waves were shockingly violent, and they had the power to tear everything apart. Lin Tian used all his strength to activate the two immortal artifacts to protect himself and Bai Qiu, and they were swept away by the waves. Bang! A huge tentacle pulled out from the bottom of the sea and landed on the two immortal artifacts. Lin Tian felt the world spinning around him, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Bai Qiu's expression changed. She used her divine power to help activate the immortal artifacts, but the effect was not obvious. Boom! Another tentacle pressed down. Lin Tian's hands moved continuously, and the divining divine technique created a blood-red crack that swallowed everything. Unfortunately, compared to the old Nether beast, this power was not enough. With a bang, the old Nether beast's tentacle pulled out and flipped the two of them over again. Boom! In the distance, the desolate demon physique, Putsong, also fell into the sea. The corners of his mouth were stained with blood as he used the immortal artifact Giant Bone to resist the old Nether beast. Lin Tian tilted his head and stared at Putsong. His eyes suddenly turned cold. He waved the Nirvana fist, and a dazzling fist aura broke the waves and blasted toward Putsong. Putsong's eyes turned cold. He activated the Great Massacre Divine Handprint and launched a vast light handprint. Boom! The two types of divine power collided, and the waves were pushed even more violently. "What time is it now? You're still messing around." Bai Qiu was angry. She stared into the distance. "I'm coming too." With a buzz, a huge divine shadow appeared behind her. The Bai family's Thousand Illusion Divine Hand secret technique was used, and it blasted toward the desolate demon physique from afar. "Want? Read one? K? A? N? C? C? Well done." Lin Tian laughed. He raised his hand, and the four-symbol seal Dao diagram condensed and pushed toward the desolate demon physique. With a bang, the desolate demon physique was directly flipped over. A huge tentacle pressed down, and it was forcefully pulled to the bottom of the sea. Lin Tian laughed, but soon he could not laugh anymore. A terrifying demonic aura spread out in all directions. This demonic aura naturally did not come from the desolate demon physique. Instead, it rushed out from the old Nether beast's body like a volcano erupting. "Damn it!" Lin Tian cursed. He gritted his teeth, and the vital essence in his body burst out at the same time. He activated the immortal artifacts of the two sects to protect himself. With a bang, the waves pressed down with a violent impact and swept the two of them away. In the distance, the desolate demon physique was even more miserable. It was once again sent flying by a tentacle. It coughed up large mouthfuls of blood and escaped with its hair disheveled. The entire sea was boiling. Lin Tian, Bai Qiu, and the desolate demon physique were unable to resist at all. They could only use their immortal artifacts to protect themselves. Under the old Panether beast's terrifying power, they fell into the distance with the waves. Roar! The old Panether beast roared, shaking all directions. On the surface of the sea, more than 100 tentacles rolled. It sensed that Lin Tian and Panether beast had escaped, and it released an angry roar and killing intent. Even though the cultivators had already retreated far away, they were still in great trouble. Many people's bodies were crushed by the waves. Many cultivators were shouting and frantically fleeing into the distance. The old Panether beast's 100 tentacles smashed everything. It only stopped after a quarter of an hour. Its blood-red eyes scanned the surroundings, and it let out another roar before disappearing into the sea. Tens of thousands of feet away, Lin Tian and Bai Qiu rose to the surface of the sea. The two of them were protected by immortal light, so their clothes were not wet. They only looked a little miserable, and their faces were slightly pale. That was close. Bai Qiu patted his chest with lingering fear. Lin Tian put away the mirror. I didn't expect that there would be such a terrifying sea demon in this place. That old Panether beast was too terrifying. He estimated that even if the masters of the sacred grounds and ancient families came, they would not be able to stop it. If they did not have immortal artifacts to protect themselves, it would have been difficult for them to escape from the other party. Bai Qiu said, "The sea is very ancient, so it's naturally very dangerous. There are many powerful sea demons there, and there are even existences that have surpassed the immortal ascension realm. However, it's very rare to encounter a peak immortal ascension realm sea demon near the sea." The two of them stood on the surface of the sea. Gusts of light wind blew over, bringing with them thick moisture. "Where are we now?" Lin Tian asked. Bai Qiu counted with his fingers, looked left and right, and pointed forward. "Let's go in this direction." Lin Tian sweated. "You don't look very reliable." "Are you sure you know where to go? I read it from ancient books. I can't be wrong," Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian, although he was very worried about Bai Qiu, he was too lazy to say anything now. After all, he did not know how to go in the sea. Moreover, there was no one around, so he could only follow Bai Qiu. Both of them were powerful cultivators at the flight realm. They walked close to the surface of the sea, and the water quickly slid behind them. "I wonder if the desolate demon physique is still alive," Bai Qiu muttered. "It shouldn't be dead. If it died so easily, it wouldn't be worthy of the king physique." Lin Tian on Dao. In the blink of an eye, 2 days passed. The two of them were not slow, but after 2 days, they still saw the vast sea in their vision. It must still be ahead. It's still 7 days by boat, Bai Qiu said firmly. Lin Tian was speechless. "We're flying. It seems that it's much faster than taking a boat. Your reason doesn't work." He originally wanted to say an excuse, but after thinking about it, he felt that it was better not to hurt Bai Qiu's face too much. "Just follow me? Why are you talking so much nonsense?" Bai Qiu said angrily. Lin Tian was too lazy to argue with her. He held the back of his head and followed behind. 2 days later, there was still the vast sea in their vision. "It's been 4 days," Lin Tian said in an indifferent tone. Bai Qiu's face turned red. "I'm following the book. There's no mistake." "The book might not be wrong, but you might be wrong. For example, you might remember the direction mentioned in the book wrongly." Lin Tian on Dao. "You're mocking me. You said it yourself. I didn't mean it that way." Bai Qiu stared at him angrily. Bai Qiu still wanted to lead the way, but Lin Tian was unwilling. If Bai Qiu continued to lead the way, they would not be able to reach the sea even after flying for 10 days. He took out a dagger, cut his finger, and squeezed out a drop of blood into the sea. "What are you doing?" Bai Qiu was puzzled. "Just watch." Lin Tian on Dao. Bai Qiu muttered, pretending to be mysterious. The sea breeze blew. Gradually, the slightly rippled sea became turbulent, and the arc of the ripples began to become larger. After a few dozen breaths, the waves became fiercer. Boom! In the distance, there was a loud noise. Some sea monsters came out of the water and rushed toward them. There were more than 10 of them. They're comparable to cultivators in the early stage of the knowledge sea. Baichio was surprised. Just now, you dripped blood into the sea to attract them? She was not stupid. Looking at this scene and thinking about Lin Tian's actions just now, she naturally understood. Some beasts are very sensitive and obsessed with the smell of blood. As long as they smell a trace of blood, they will gather. Lin Tian on Dao. More than 10 sea monsters rushed over and stared at Lin Tian and Baichio. Their eyes flashed with a fierce light, as if they were staring at food. Lin Tian was expressionless. His powerful vital essence rushed out and released his power. In an instant, the fierce light in the eyes of more than 10 sea monsters disappeared, and they all trembled. Lin Tian's glabella flickered. His divine sense entered the head of a sea monster, directly searching the sea monster's knowledge sea. After a while, the light disappeared from his glabella, and he looked toward the southeast. Follow. With that, he took the lead and walked in that direction. He used the smell of blood to attract a group of sea monsters and found the specific location of the sea in their knowledge sea. Baichio naturally knew what Lin Tian did. She curled her lips and muttered, "Wouldn't it have been better if he had done that from the beginning?" She followed behind Lin Tian and soon disappeared. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. On this day, a huge island appeared in front of Lin Tian and Baichio. There were ancient forests on it, and the cries of beasts shook the sky. "The sea, we're here," Baichio said happily. Chapter 413. Lin Tian and Baichio left the surface of the sea together and landed on an island in front of them. This island was very big, and it was covered with all kinds of ancient trees. There was a wild aura flowing around it, and it was very shocking. Reading? Reading a book? 1 K A N S book H UCC. It's as if I've come to the ancient era. Lin Tian was shocked. Baichio curled her lips. "You're talking as if you've come from the ancient era. You really know how to pretend." Lin Tian raised his hand and gave her a knock on the head. "Little girl, you need to be taught a lesson." Baichio gritted her teeth and pounced. "My brother, father, and mother have never hit me before, but you've done it several times in the past few days. I'm going to bite you to death." Lin Tian sweated and used a lot of strength to push Baichio away. There was a row of teeth marks on his shoulder. Baichio bared her teeth and was about to pounce again. "Don't mess around. You're always biting people. Don't act like a girl at all. Be careful that the person you like doesn't want you anymore." Lin Tian was speechless. Baichio stopped and glanced at Lin Tianyi before walking forward. Lin Tian opened his mouth and walked up. He tilted his head and looked at Baichio. He felt that Baichio was in a bad mood. "I was just saying, did you really take it seriously? You're too unconfident. There aren't many people in this realm who are worthy of a prodigy like you. Why would you worry about not being able to get married? Don't be angry." Baichio glanced at him and didn't say anything. Lin Tian was a little embarrassed. All right. If you don't have anyone to marry in the future, I'll just marry you." "From your tone, it sounds like I'll be the lucky one if you marry me." Baichio stared at him. Lin Tian. From a certain perspective, he was only an ordinary person. Meanwhile, Baichio was the beloved daughter of the most powerful ancient family in the heaven realm. Furthermore, she possessed the Lunar King physique. If he really did marry Baichio, no matter how he looked at it, he would be the one getting a huge bargain. He curled his lips. "You're suddenly so arrogant." Baichio snorted and continued walking forward. Lin Tian felt awkward, but she followed him unhurriedly. This island was extremely vast, with a circumference of tens of thousands of kilometers. Ancient trees grew in great numbers on the island, and they grew abundantly. As the two of them walked on the island, they could clearly feel an extremely dense aura of life. One reading book 1 K N S H U C C. Roar! Roar! Within the old forest, the cries of beasts reverberated unceasingly. The cries of these beasts were very shocking and deafening. It was clear that the owners of these cries were very powerful. Walking through such an ancient forest, some ordinary cultivators would surely act with caution. However, Lin Tian and Bai Qiu appeared very casual. The two of them were very strong. Additionally, they also possessed immortal artifacts to protect their bodies. With a boom, the dozen or so old trees in front of them shattered, and a huge monster appeared in front of them. This was a Li ape that was about 10 meters tall. Its entire body was covered in black fur, and its muscles were like dragons. It was extremely terrifying. Roar! The Li ape roared and stared at Lin Tian and Bai Qiu. It directly waved its thick beast claws and pressed them down. A ninth-grade demonic beast, comparable to the peak of the Sea of Knowledge. It's only a little bit away from becoming a great demon. Lin Tian on Dao. He stared at the other party, his eyes slightly narrowed. The Li ape trembled violently. Its beast claws suddenly stopped. Its originally fierce demonic eyes were directly replaced by fear. Too fierce a person, even beasts are afraid of him. Bai Qiu said, Lin Tian. The two of them walked past the Li ape and walked further into the old forest on the island. Only when they were far away did the powerful Li ape regain its senses. It jumped into the nearby forest with lingering fear and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Along the way, the roars of the beasts became more and more intense. The so-called training in the sea refers to fighting with the demonic beasts and sea demons on the island to increase your combat strength. Lin Tian asked Bai Qiu, how can it be so monotonous? Fighting with Yao beasts is just the most basic aspect of training in the sea region. There are also battles between cultivators, searching for various treasure grounds, searching for rare and precious medicinal herbs, unearthing ancient secret techniques. There are even tombs left behind by powerful cultivators in this sea region. Once you find them, you will find many treasures inside. Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian nodded. He understood. 1. Reading? 1. See, after walking for a short distance, the light in the old forest became dim, but the demonic aura became denser. Roar! The roar full of bloody aura continued to reverberate, making people unable to help but feel a chill in their hearts. Lin Tian's expression was normal. He walked side by side with Bai Qiu and walked forward. The demonic aura here was already very dense, but it didn't make him feel a trace of pressure. Whoosh! 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 The sound of something breaking through the air rang in the dim space. A powerful demonic beast attacked. It's comparable to the early stage of the Zephyr realm. Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian nodded. He bent his finger, and a few sword lights flew to the two sides behind him. Puff, puff, puff. Mixed with screams, 3 corpses fell to the ground. The two didn't care and continued to walk forward. After that, demonic beasts kept attacking from all directions. However, none of them could really make the two feel pressure. The most powerful ones were only comparable to the early stage of the Zephyr realm, and they were very ordinary. Almost all of them were directly killed by Lin Tian with a raise of his hand. Boom! Suddenly, an extremely fierce aura rushed up, and the old trees around them trembled. 3 demonic beasts rushed out in front of them, each of them surrounded by a terrifying aura, comparable to the 8th heaven of the Zephyr realm. Bai Qiu glanced at them and became serious. He said to Lin Tiandao, because they have been maintaining their beast form and fighting with other demonic beasts every day, they are exceptionally powerful. Ordinary human cultivators at the 8th heaven of the Zephyr realm are definitely not their match. Even now, you have to be careful. After all, there are 3 of them. Don't I still have you? Aren't you going to fight? Lin Tian was curious. I'm here to play and watch you train. Of course, I will definitely help when I find treasures. At that time, you will be my guard. Lin Tian felt that he was a little speechless. At this moment, the beast roar sounded again, and the 3 demonic beasts rushed over together. Lin Tian tilted his head. Without thinking much, he took a step forward and rushed out. Bang! He didn't make any complicated moves. He simply punched and sent the first demonic beast flying. The demonic beast screamed and flew 5 feet away before stopping. It roared angrily and rushed over again. Interesting. Lin Tianwei narrowed his eyes slightly. He had experienced a heavenly tribulation and tempered his body with dragon blood. His physical body was extremely strong, stronger than ordinary immortal cultivators. He didn't expect this demonic beast to take his punch head-on. One had to know that although he didn't use his full strength in that punch, it was still not something that ordinary demonic beasts could withstand. This was enough to show the strength of this demonic beast. His eyes flashed. He waved his fists and legs and rushed into the middle of the 3 demonic beasts, fighting them at close range. He came here to train. Now that he had found a suitable demonic beast to be his opponent, it was naturally a good thing. Boom! Demonic beasts at the 8th heaven of the Zephyr realm were indeed terrifying. When the 3 of them gathered together, they already had the power to threaten ordinary immortal cultivators. However, it was also because of this that Lin Tian fought to his heart's content. The blood in his body was boiling. Silver light intertwined at the tip of his fist, and he threw out punch after punch. Roar! One of the demonic beasts roared, shaking the trees. It opened its bloody mouth, and a huge black beam of light rushed out, heading straight for Lin Tian. At the same time, the other 2 demonic beasts also displayed their demonic instincts. They didn't transform, so they didn't know any profound secret arts. However, this allowed them to use some simple attacks without restraint, and their attack power was extremely strong. Be careful. In the distance, Bai Qiu reminded him. 3 simple demonic lights. Even she, who possessed the lunar imperial physique, felt pressured and threatened. Lin Tian nodded at her and propped up the divine roar palace. The sea of thunder moved and rumbled nonstop. How did this guy use my brother's monarch's domain? It's too strange. Bai Qiu muttered. In front, after Lin Tian propped up the divine roar palace, his power increased greatly, and he resisted the 3 killing lights. He rushed past, still raising his fist and smashing it down in a simple and direct manner. His fists were like meteorites and divine iron, indestructible. The pressure caused the void to tremble, and the 3 demonic beasts were sent flying one after another. This time, the power of his fist was much stronger than before. He used 90% of his strength in each punch, causing the 3 demonic beasts to fly continuously. Demonic blood splattered across the sky, and they screamed from time to time. After another 10 breaths, Lin Tian's footsteps swayed, and he directly approached one of the demonic beasts. He raised his right fist, and wisps of lightning intertwined at the tip of his fist. He smashed down, shattering the demonic beast's body, and blood splattered all over the sky. Bai Qiu stared. This guy is simply a barbaric dragon. Boom! The intense confrontation continued, and demonic lights and true essence surged in all directions like a tide. With a bang, Lin Tian swung his fist, and the void sounded like a sacred drum being beaten. Poof! The second demonic beast was smashed into pieces, and it died on the spot. Seeing this, a trace of fear finally appeared in the 3rd demonic beast's eyes. It turned around and fled. It had reached the Zephyr realm, and demonic beasts that had reached the Zephyr realm had enough intelligence and could think like humans. After seeing Lin Tian's ferocious power and seeing 2 of its companions killed, the 3rd demonic beast did not dare to stay. Lin Tian's footsteps flashed, and he caught up in the blink of an eye. It was still a simple punch, but it came down from the sky and shattered the demonic beast's head. So bloody. Bai Qiu shrunk his neck. Lin Tian steadied himself, put away the 3 demonic beast cores, and then left with Bai Qiu. In the next few days, Lin Tian continued to fight the demonic beasts on this treasure island. His body was bathed in demonic blood, and although his combat strength did not increase by much, his combat experience increased by a lot, and his cultivation foundation also became more stable. After a few days, a canyon appeared in front of him. The canyon was full of vegetation, and the concentration of spirit chi was shocking. A cultivation treasure land. There must be a complete spirit vein under this canyon. Baichio was surprised and jogged forward. Boom! Suddenly, a majestic demonic aura surged up. At the edge of the canyon, the ground shook, and a barbaric snake rushed out from the ground. It had 2 horns on its head, and its eyes were purple. It flicked its tongue and bit at Baichio. It's comparable to a cultivator at the immortal ascension level. Lin Tian was shocked. Chapter 414. The savage snake was ferocious. Its entire body was covered in a murderous aura that swept up gusts of hurricanes. Want to read? Book? WWW? 1. Cecilin Tian's footsteps flashed as he appeared before Baichio, and he pulled Baichio back to avoid the bloody mouth of the barbaric snake. There's a guardian spirit. What are you going to do? Lin Tian asked. When he was in the imperial city of the First Heaven Domain, he had found several blue spiritual roots in the demonic beast ridge. That place was also guarded by powerful demonic beasts. Therefore, he was not surprised that there was a guardian demonic beast in the celestial reaching realm. Baichio stared ahead and said, a complete spirit vein. We have to get it? This is fate. Lin Tian nodded. He had the same idea. He knew very well that spirit veins were formed by the rich spirit chi of heaven and earth. They were unimaginably beneficial for cultivation, alchemy, weapon forging, and so on. Above spirit veins, there were immortal veins, origin veins, divine veins, and ancestral dragon veins. They were all formed by the gathering of spirit chi of heaven and earth. Among them, the ancestral dragon veins were especially vast and could be said to be the foundation of a great world. It was said that every heaven in the 10 heavens had an ancestral dragon vein. I'll go first. You support me from the side, he said. After saying that, he took a deep breath and stepped on the yin-yang puppet to force his way forward. The savage snake's body was as huge as a small mountain. When it saw Lin Tian approaching the canyon, it roared as a warning. Very powerful, Lin Tian thought to himself. Without hesitation, he activated his immortal artifact. Immortal light bloomed and pressed toward the savage snake. Boom! As soon as the immortal artifact appeared, dazzling divine light instantly spread out, causing the savage snake to tremble. Lin Tian was now at the 2nd heaven of the Zephyr realm. He was very powerful, and his true essence was very condensed. Now that he was activating his immortal artifact, he was not weak against the savage snake, which was comparable to an ordinary immortal. He directly pressed down on it. The savage snake roared and resisted with its demonic light, but it was immediately forced back. Lin Tian's body swayed slightly, and he took another step forward. He still pressed down with his immortal artifact, causing the space to rumble. The savage snake roared, and anger appeared in its eyes. Me too. Behind him, Baichio propped up the immortal artifact gourd, and the glow of treasures around the gourd interweaved as it pressed down towards barbaric snake. When the immortal artifacts of the 2 sects pressed down together, the barbaric snake was so shocked that it trembled. An immortal artifact. This was an artifact that had been branded with Dao marks. It was not something that supreme treasures or ordinary weapons could compare to. Just the suppression from Lin Tian's middle-grade immortal artifact alone had already caused the barbarian snake to be somewhat exhausted. Now that another high-grade immortal artifact had appeared, the barbarian snake was directly suppressed to the point where it was unable to contend against it. Roar! Barbarian snake roared. There was fear in its eyes, but when it glanced at the canyon behind it, it was unwilling to leave. A tyrannical demonic light condensed. The barbaric snake opened its mouth and spat out a beam of murderous light. Space trembled, distorting inch by inch. However, when this demonic light encountered the powerful immortal artifacts of the 2 sects, it was annihilated on the spot. Bang! The mirror landed on the barbaric snake and flipped it over. The barbaric snake roared. Although it was afraid, it still refused to leave. Its demonic body expanded, and it stood upright, reaching a height of 10 feet. They are indeed very powerful, But unfortunately, they can't stop us. Lin Tian shook his head. He no longer held back. The true essence in his body surged like the yellow river and poured into the mirror. At the same time, Bai Qiu also used all his strength. The immortal artifact treasure gourd trembled, and a rolling immortal aura swept toward the barbaric snake. Boom! This was a terrifying attack. The void in front of them collapsed on the spot. With a puff, the barbaric snake was directly shattered into pieces, and its blood stained the ground. We don't have any dragon blood. Do you want to temper your body with the blood of this snake? At least it's comparable to an ordinary immortal. Lin Tian said to Bai Qiu. Go to hell. Bai Qiu cursed. Lin Tian smiled and walked into the canyon with Bai Qiu. There were many plants in the canyon, and they were very dense. The spirit chi was very abundant. The two of them walked to the center of the canyon before stopping, because the spirit chi fluctuation there was the most intense. It's down there. Dig it out, Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian nodded and used the mirror to dig up the ground under his feet. After dozens of breaths, he dug down to a depth of 50 to 60 feet. The spirit chi erupted like a mountain spring. It was extremely shocking. Found it? A glint flashed in his eyes. As far as the eye could see, there was a solid liquid that looked like a snake lying quietly below. It was crystal clear, like a crystal. 1. Reading www. 1. CC, it's really a complete spirit meridian. Bai Qiu was overjoyed. Lin Tian used an immortal artifact to open up a small space below, and then used an immortal artifact to block the gap above. Only then did he and Bai Qiu size up the spirit meridian. This spirit meridian was like a huge snake. It was as thick as an adult's waist and about 50 feet long. The spirit chi contained within was extremely dense and shocking. What should we do? Lin Tian asked. Bai Qiu thought for a moment and said, just use it to cultivate. We can't take it away anyway. I think so too. Lin Tian smiled and said. Immediately, the two of them looked at each other, sat down cross-legged, and began to cultivate. Hum. As the two of them cultivated, the spirit meridian seemed to come alive. Vast amounts of spirit chi surged into their bodies crazily. That's great, Bai Qiu said happily. Lin Tian also felt comfortable all over. Speaking of which, he had never cultivated in such dense spirit chi before. In just an instant, he felt his cultivation begin to loosen and start to rise bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. Boom! Lin Tian's body glowed brightly, and a stronger wave rushed out of his body. In 3 days, he absorbed the high-purity spirit chi in the spirit meridian and broke through again, reaching the 3rd level of the Zephyr realm. At this time, his essence, chi, and spirit had improved a lot. His true essence had become purer, and there were fewer impurities. He clenched his fists, but there was no change in his physical strength. My physique has reached a limit. Unless I reach the immortal ascension state or have a greater fortuitous encounter, my physical strength will not improve anymore. He muttered to himself. He tilted his head and looked. Bai Qiu was still cultivating, and there were wisps of light flickering outside his body. Tying body. Is this the light of Tying origin? He narrowed his eyes slightly. After a while, he shook his head and began to consolidate his realm. Soon, another day passed. On this day, Bai Qiu opened her eyes and reached the 2nd level of the Zephyr realm. Hey! Lin Tian greeted with a smile. He had already woken up. After stabilizing his realm, he stood guard for Bai Qiu. Bai Qiu stared at him. You're already at the 3rd level of the Zephyr realm. That's fast. My brother reached the 4th level of the Zephyr realm not long ago. Your brother is nothing. I'll beat him up again sooner or later. Lin Tian curled his lips. My brother didn't do anything to you. Bai Qiu was angry. Lin Tian rolled his eyes. Your brother wants to tear me apart. He always thinks that I did something to you. It's not too much to beat him up. Bai Qiu widened her eyes, then narrowed them and leaned in front of Lin Tian. There's only the two of us here. Are you going to do something to me? Don't worry, I won't resist. Lin Tian was speechless. This girl was too bold. Your brother will kill me. He shook his head. Bai Qiu snorted and walked away from Lin Tian. She looked at the spirit vein. It's just an ordinary spirit vein. It only helped us break through a small stage. She sighed. Lin Tian was speechless. In the first heaven, the northern flame, imperial courtyard, and the burning sun sect only buried a few complete spirit veins underground, forming a spirit region. Countless disciples went there. In the northern flame imperial courtyard, if one wanted to cultivate in a place with a buried spirit vein, there was a quota and restrictions. It was very harsh. Compared to that, cultivating with a spirit vein was really extravagant. If news of this spread out, people would definitely be shocked. This girl actually sighed and said, "Do you want to go to the ancestral dragon vein to cultivate?" Bai Qiu nodded. "Of course." Lin Tian was speechless. There was not much spirit vein left, and the spirit chi was very thin. Lin Tian let Bai Qiu use the last bit of spirit chi to stabilize her cultivation. It was not until a day later that they left the underground. "I'll fight with the demonic beasts this time," Bai Qiu said. She was very happy that her cultivation had broken through a small stage. She rubbed her palms together. Lin Tian curled his lips and walked in front. Not long after, in an old forest, a few powerful demonic beasts blocked the way. They were all comparable to cultivators in the fifth heaven of the Zephyr realm. "Let me do it!" Bai Qiu rushed over with a big stride. Boom! 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 True essence light and demonic light collided. After about 10 breaths, the demonic beasts were all lying on the ground. Although they were not dead, they were almost dead. They were tortured until they were more out of breath than in. "How is it? I'm strong, right?" Bai Qiu said proudly. "Yes, you're strong." Lin Tiandao added, "Your whole family is strong." A few demonic beasts comparable to cultivators in the fifth heaven of the Zephyr realm. He could kill them all with a slap. "How can you say that?" Bai Qiu glared at him. Lin Tian didn't say anything and just continued walking forward. In the next few days, the two of them trained on the island. They walked through a few old forests and fought with demonic beasts. Their combat strength increased by a lot. Throughout the entire process, Lin Tian was thoroughly embarrassed by Bai Qiu. This lady had never killed demonic beasts, but every time she did, she would viciously torment them, causing chaos on this island. In the end, for some unknown reason, when some demonic beasts saw Bai Qiu, they would subconsciously shrink their necks and run away. "This is a demon, the kind with horns," Lin Tian muttered to himself. Another 3 days passed. The two of them had been on the treasure island for more than half a month. They walked through many places on the island and did not stay any longer. They rose into the air and headed to the next treasure island. This was the sea. There were more than 100 large islands in the sea, especially the one in the center. It was very vast and contained a shocking amount of spiritual energy. On this day, the two of them landed on the second island and saw many cultivators. At this time, these cultivators were all running towards the same place. "What's going on?" Bai Qiu was curious. As soon as she said that, a powerful light suddenly rushed out from behind a mountain in the distance. The sound of a saber rang out. "This is..." Lin Tian's eyes narrowed. He felt a familiar fluctuation. "P.S. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone." "Oh!" The bachelor dragon silently cried and floated by. "Everyone, ignore me." Chapter 415. Lin Tian looked at the mountain in the distance and paused for a moment. Then he pulled Bai Qiu and flew in that direction. "Everyone, please search for the most complete version of this novel." A novel! Soon, he reached the top of the mountain. In front of him, light shot up into the sky, and sword light swept across. A black-robed man with flying black hair was fighting with 4 old men and a dozen middle-aged men. "It's him!" Lin Tian's eyes flashed with 2 rays of light. He was no stranger to this black-robed man. He had fought with him before, but the battle ended without a conclusion. Clang! The sword light vibrated. The black-robed man held a long sword in his hand and swung it down, sweeping out killing light all over the sky. A middle-aged man at the sixth heaven of the Zephyr realm turned pale. He was hit by the sword light and turned into a pool of blood on the spot. Puff, puff, puff. In the blink of an eye, blood sputtered again, and another 3 people were killed. Lin Tian did not know how long this group of people had been fighting. Blood had dyed the ground red. Lin Tian looked over. The black-clothed man was the same as before. His eyes were very cold. The only difference was that there was a shocking viciousness and killing intent in the depths of his eyes. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing. In the blink of an eye, another 2 powerhouses at the 8th heaven of the Zephyr realm were killed. So strong! Lin Tian frowned. When the black-robed man suppressed his realm to fight with him, he didn't know his true combat strength. But now, the scene in this place shocked him. At the feet of the black-robed man, there were dozens of corpses, many of which were at the 8th heaven of the Zephyr realm. He even saw the bodies of 2 old men at the connecting immortal realm. To be able to possess such battle prowess, this black-clothed man could definitely be considered a supreme figure among his peers. He looked at the group of people surrounding the black-robed man, and his eyes narrowed again. Taishan Holy Land, all access Holy Land, he whispered to himself. He had fought with the elders of the 2 holy lands, so he was familiar with the aura of these people. But he was a little confused as to why these 2 holy lands would surround and kill the black-robed man. Yang Qi, it's about time you put up a resistance. Today, you will die without a doubt. An old man said. This was an elder of the Taishan Holy Land. He was in the early stage of the connecting celestial realm. He wielded the Taishan Great Sword, and the sword light cut through everything. There were 3 other people beside this old man. They were all in the immortal channeling realm and were the elders of the Taishan Holy Land and the Wantong Holy Land. The 3 of them took action together. Immortal lights surged, crushing forward. At the same time, around the 4 old men, more than a dozen powerhouses of the flight technique cast their divine abilities and secret techniques to suppress the black-robed man. Such an attack was truly terrifying, causing quite a few people in the surroundings to be moved. The black-clothed man's eyes were cold, and the killing intent in the depths of his eyes was very strong. His black hair danced wildly, making him look like a demon god. Clang! Another blade light swept across the sky and directly cut a 7th firmament Imperial Air-tier powerhouse who was charging at the front in half. He took a step forward, causing the void to tremble. With a single fist, another person was blasted into pieces. However, in this process, he was also injured, swept by the light of the secret techniques of the 4 great beings of the immortal level. You're already an arrow at the end of its flight. Why struggle? An elder from the Wantong holy ground sneered. The black-clothed man held a long blade. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, but his eyes were very terrifying, sharper than a blade. With a buzz, a mountain of blades appeared behind him. Sharp blades and long blades appeared one after another, flowing with a cold light. Spiritual sea phenomenon? How much power can you unleash in your current state? The 4 immortal powerhouses said coldly. They stepped forward, and their divine abilities and secret techniques surged, shining in all directions. Lin Tian frowned, and his eyes were filled with doubt. His name is Yang Qi, and he's from the Taishan Holy Land and the Wantong Holy Land. He saw killing intent in the black-clothed man's eyes. That killing intent seemed to originate from hatred. This kind of blade technique, and his surname is Yang. Could he be a survivor of that family? Bai Qiu suddenly said. Lin Tian's expression changed. He tilted his head and looked at Bai Qiu. What do you know? Bai Qiu stared ahead and said, there used to be a big family in this heaven, no weaker than our Bai family. It was also a super force from the ancient times, the Yang family. About 10 years ago, the Yang family suffered a great disaster. Almost all the experts in the family were killed. After that, the Yang family's strength was greatly reduced, and then what? Lin Tian frowned. Then, the Taishan Holy Land and the Wantong Holy Land worked together to destroy the Yang family and divided up the Yang family's assets. Bai Qiu said, Lin Tian frowned and narrowed his eyes. So that man is a survivor of the Yang family. The Taishan Holy Land and the Wantong Holy Land found that there were survivors of the ancient family that they worked together to destroy, so they wanted to silence them. He finally understood why the black-clothed man's eyes were filled with hatred. So that was it. That should be the case. The two Holy Lands were not as strong as they are now. After devouring the Yang family's assets, their strength increased a lot. That's how they reached their current scale. Bai Qiu nodded. They destroyed an entire family without any grievances, and no one in the celestial region said anything? Although it's not good to say that in the cultivation world, strength is everything. Who can say anything? Bai Qiu rolled his eyes. Lin Tianyi smiled. You're right. I'm being unreasonable. Boom! In front of them, light flashed. It was very threatening. Together with the four elders of the Taishan Holy Land and the Wantong Holy Land, more than 20 people surrounded the black-clothed man. Secret techniques flew everywhere. Give up resisting, and we'll give you a quick death. Someone in the group sneered. The black-clothed man's eyes were cruel, and his body was covered in blood. Even so, the aura on his body was still very terrifying. Although he could no longer support the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness, he still stood together with the four immortal reaching experts and forced them to retreat several times. Of course, he was also injured repeatedly and spat out blood. Boom! All kinds of immortal light danced in all directions and covered the black-clothed man. The black-clothed man used a saber technique and forced his way out of the immortal light. His hair was dyed red with blood. It's about time. Kill him. No, suppress him. Maybe we can get that thing. That's right. The four immortal reaching experts' eyes were cold. Vast divine light rushed out of the four of them at the same time. Streaks of light flickered and condensed into a strange seal. That black-clothed man is finished. Back then, he's the only survivor of the Yang family. Sigh. Some of the older cultivators sighed. The black-clothed man held the long saber. His blood-stained cheeks were a little pale. At this time, he was indeed an arrow at the end of its flight. However, facing the joint attack of the four immortal reaching experts, his eyes were still as cold as knives, and his killing intent was high. Clang! A sword whistled, and a 5-foot-long sword energy fell from the sky, slashing toward the four from the Taishan Holy Land. This sword was a little terrifying. The four of them all paled and retreated. The seal they formed also shattered instantly. Who is it? An elder of the Taishan Holy Land shouted angrily. Me. With a cold laugh, Lin Tian stepped into the void and entered the battlefield step by step. He felt that the black-clothed man had less than 20% of his vital essence left. It would be difficult for him to block the joint attack of the four immortal reaching experts. Back then, this man's cultivation was clearly much higher than his, and he could easily suppress him. However, in the end, he suppressed his cultivation level and fought with him. Then, the Su family attacked. At that time, if he had joined forces with the Su family, this man could have easily killed him and taken the weapon-controlling art and other things. However, he did not do so and turned to leave. After hearing Bai Qiu mention the black-clothed man, he more or less knew why he had come to him for the weapon-controlling art. It was to cultivate this precious art to increase his combat strength and take revenge on the Taishan Holy Land and the Altong Holy Land. Under such circumstances, although the other party was a little overbearing, he still maintained the spirit and tolerance of an expert. This made him have a good impression of him. Now, it was impossible for him to watch the other party be suppressed by the people from the two Holy Lands. Furthermore, the two Holy Lands were his enemies to begin with. The four of you are seriously injured, he said with a cold laugh. I don't know if you can survive in my hands. Yang Qi stared at Lin Tian, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. He opened his mouth, but did not say anything in the end. At this time, the crowd of onlookers looked in the direction of the voice. They were all shocked and subconsciously shrank their necks. It's that madman. Why is that madman here? He wants to kill these people from the two Holy Lands. Many people were shocked. These days, Lin Tian's fierce reputation had spread like wildfire. Basically, everyone knew about him. This guy. In the distance, Bai Qiu muttered in a low voice. The four elders of the Taishan Holy Land and the All-Tong Holy Land's faces darkened, and their eyes became cold as they stared at Lin Tian. You dare to make a move against us by yourself? You dare to talk about killing all of us? You're courting death. Kill him and that Yang family bastard together. Their eyes were very cold. Lin Tian had killed two immortal-reaching, immortal realm cultivators from the Taishan Holy Land and the All-Tong Holy Land. This hatred was not small. Kill! Shouts rang out. In an instant, more than 10 immortal realm cultivators attacked. These people had survived the battle with Yang Qi. None of them were weak, and the weakest was at the 7th heavenly layer of the immortal realm. At this moment, more than 10 of them attacked together. The power was somewhat terrifying. Lin Tian was expressionless. He used the divination divine skill to create the divine rumble palace and blocked everything. He stepped forward casually and appeared in front of an 8th heavenly layer of the immortal realm cultivator. He directly slapped down. Poof! Blood splattered. This person was smashed into pieces and fell from the sky. This 8th heavenly layer of the immortal realm cultivator was killed by a slap from him? What a freak! Many people gasped. Lin Tian sneered and stepped forward casually. Using the divination divine skill as the foundation, he propped up the sun ocean and covered it. Poof! 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 The blood mist exploded, and 7 people were annihilated in the sun ocean on the spot. Bastard! An elder of the Taishan Holy Land roared. Among the 7 people, 5 were from the Taishan Holy Land. Lin Tian tilted his head. The yin and yang ho flashed and directly pressed forward. With a boom, he raised his right fist and directly punched down. Arrogant! The elder of the Taishan Holy Land shouted angrily. How dare an immortal realm cultivator attack him at close range with pure physical strength? He raised his right hand, formed an eagle's claw, and grabbed Lin Tian's fist. The fist and the claw collided in the blink of an eye. With a poof, the elder of the Taishan Holy Land's hand was directly smashed. I'll send you to hell, Lin Tian said coldly. He had already closed in on this person. Naturally, he would not give him a chance to breathe. His iron fist pressed down again. Chapter 416. The violent punch carried wisps of lightning. It was like the light of a heavenly tribulation. It was frightening. The elder of the Taishan sacred land was shocked. He felt the threat of death from this punch. Stop! Lin Tianling smiled. How could he stop? Boom! The void trembled and shattered on the spot. In the distance, the other 3 immortal-reaching realm cultivators were shocked. They stepped forward and attacked Lin Tianling's back. Clang! The blade was ear-piercing. Yang Qi appeared behind Lin Tianling. The long blade in his hand trembled and swept out an 8-foot-long blade. Lin Tianling looked back. The corners of his mouth curled up, and he punched harder. No poof! Elder Taishan was terrified. Lin Tianling was so close to him that he couldn't dodge at all. He was smashed to pieces by the punch. All around, many cultivators gasped. An immortal-reaching realm cultivator was smashed to death. Such a physical body. He really doesn't have the Brute King body? This is demon. Many people were shocked. Another elder of the Taishan sacred land roared. Runes flashed, and the sky was filled with runes. Another immortal-reaching realm cultivator from the Taishan sacred land had died at the hands of Lin Tianling. With a boom, he activated the Taishan Great Sword. A beam of sword light swept across the sky. Its murderous aura was frightening. With it as the center, the terrifying sword light swept out in all directions. Yang Qi's eyes were cruel. He stood between Lin Tianling and Elder Taishan. He waved his long blade. Lin Tianling tilted his head. The yin and yang ho flashed and appeared beside Yang Qi. He grabbed Yang Qi's collar and threw him behind him. This man was strong and definitely not weaker than him. But now that he was seriously injured, taking this blow would only make him worse. He stepped forward and punched the elder of the Taishian sacred land. Boom! As the fist pressed down, ripples appeared in the air. Then the light of dragon blood flashed and collided with the Taishian sword. With a crack, light filled the sky. Elder Taishuan's divine sword shattered. How is this possible? Everyone's expression changed. The Taishian greatsword was an ancient scripture passed down in the Taishian Holy Land. Such a sword could almost cut down a cultivator in the immortal reaching realm. But now, it was smashed into pieces by a cultivator in the Zephyr realm. This was unbelievable and shocking. Bai Qiu curled his lips. This guy is practically a ferocious beast in human form. Dong! The void trembled again as if a divine drum had been struck. Lin Tian took a step forward. He didn't use any martial arts or divine powers. He used his pure physical strength to shake Elder Taishian. His fists tore through the air. Let's go too. Use your divine abilities and secret techniques to attack from a distance. Don't let him get close to you. Two people from the Wantong holy ground strode over. The two of them were also existences in the immortal connecting realm, and they could clearly see how terrifying Lin Tian's physique was. They stopped more than 30 meters away from Lin Tian, and at the same time, used their myriad treasure techniques to attack. Everyone else, go and capture the Yang family survivor. He is now an arrow at the end of its flight. If all of you work together, you can suppress him. An elder of the Wantong holy ground said. There were still 11 powerhouses around. After hearing that, they all nodded and strode towards Yangqi. Take care of yourselves, Lin Tianling said. A vast mountain rushed up behind him, and he used the divine technique to activate the barren heaven realm, enveloping all directions. Not long ago, he and Bai Qiu used a complete spirit meridian to cultivate and reach the third firmament of the imperial sky realm. Although their physiques didn't change much, their true essence had become purer, and their combat power had become stronger. Now, he was supporting the barren heaven realm with his third firmament of the imperial sky realm cultivation level. All of a sudden, roars sounded, and the shadows of demonic beasts appeared, trampling through the sky. Such a scene immediately shocked the 11 people so much that their scalps turned numb. This was a divine ability of the king's territory. Some people wanted to escape on the spot, but unfortunately, it was useless. The barren heaven realm covered them and sealed all their escape routes. Blood mists exploded one after another, and in the blink of an eye, all 11 of them were wiped out. None survived. Corpses fell to the ground one after another, and blood flowed like a stream. So terrifying. Why do I feel like this lunatic has become stronger again? This is simply helping that person from the Yang family clean up the mess. Many cultivators were terrified. Previously, dozens of people from the Taishian sacred ground and the Wantong sacred ground besieged Yangqi, but more than half of them were killed by Yangqi. Now, Yangqi was seriously injured, and Lin Tian appeared at the right time to help Yangqi block the attack. Dong! The void in front of him trembled and distorted continuously. Lin Tian's eyes were cold and indifferent as he stared at the three people in front of him. Try and see if the three of you can survive in my hands. He stepped on the void and walked forward step by step. Originally, he didn't have any feud with the Taishian sacred ground and the Wantong sacred ground, but they took the initiative to provoke him. Previously, in the Sword Tomb, they almost caused him and Bai Qiu to die tragically. Hence, he bore a grudge against them. It was his principle to take revenge and vent his hatred. That had always been his principle. Buzz! Flames appeared around his body. With a wave of his right hand, the Yang incinerating sword technique slashed forward, enveloping the three people at the same time. The three immortal reaching realm experts' faces turned cold. They each took a side, and sword light and treasure light rushed out together. A mere immortal realm cultivator wants to block three immortal reaching realm experts? What a joke! One of them shouted. Lin Tian was disdainful. He punched out, causing the void to cave in. If you were in your peak condition, I might have some scruples. But now, you're not strong enough. With a bang, the treasure technique of one of the elders from the Wontong's sacred ground was directly shattered. Lin Tian approached and punched out again. This punch was very terrifying. As his fist fell, wisps of lightning appeared, as if it was leading a thunderbolt to fall. Immediately, the elder from the Wontong's sacred ground was shocked, and a hint of fear appeared in his eyes. "Junior, how dare you?" Another person from the Wontong's sacred ground charged over. The Wontong immortal fire appeared and turned into a fire phoenix that pounced on Lin Tian. This was a divine ability recorded in the Wontong treasure technique. Although it was not a core secret technique, it was still very powerful. "Humph!" Lin Tianling smiled. He formed a seal with his right hand, and a mysterious rune appeared. Flame seal. The flame seal trembled and instantly absorbed the fire phoenix. "I'll return it to you," he said coldly. With a swing of the flame seal, a similar fire phoenix rushed out from it and pounced on Elder Wontong. Elder Wontong's expression changed. He never thought that Lin Tian would use his divine ability to counterattack. Cursing inwardly, this Elder Wontong brandished another Paragon technique to meet this fire phoenix. Boom! For a moment, the two collided, shaking the sky with immortal brilliance. Lin Tianling smiled. During this process, his fist never stopped smashing towards the other Elder Wontong. After shattering the other party's high-grade supreme treasure, it directly landed on the other party's chest. The man was sent flying, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. More than half of the bones in his chest were shattered. "Die," Lin Tianling said. He used the divining divine technique to support the sun ocean and enveloped the man in it. The scorching sun pressed down and directly annihilated him. Another immortal ascension powerhouse. Many people were disappointed. Lin Tian stepped out and slaughtered more than 10 immortal ascension powerhouses in the blink of an eye. Everyone's heart palpitated when they saw him kill 2 immortal ascension powerhouses. Yang Qi stared at Lin Tian. His eyes flickered, but he did not attack again. Instead, he channeled the ancient scripture to recover his vital essence. At this time, there were only 2 people left. One was an elder from the Taishian sacred ground, and the other was an elder from the Wontong's sacred ground. The two stared at Lin Tian, their faces extremely ugly. "Damn you!" Elder Wontong gritted his teeth. Their 2 sacred grounds came together with dozens of immortal ascension powerhouses and dozens of immortal ascension powerhouses. They should have been able to suppress Yang Qi and kill the last member of the Yang clan. They did not expect that Lin Tian would appear at this time and directly attack them. Not only did he ruin all their plans, but he also killed more than 10 immortal ascension powerhouses and dozens of immortal ascension powerhouses. This made them go crazy with hatred. They stared at Lin Tian viciously for a while. Then, they retreated and chose to leave directly. In the previous battle with Yang Qi, although they worked together to force Yang Qi into a desperate situation, they also suffered a lot of injuries. Now, they were not even at 60% of their peak combat strength. Under such circumstances, they were not confident that they could kill Lin Tian and Yang Qi. "Want to leave?" Lin Tianling laughed. He activated the divining divine skill. Divine Cry Temple, Sun Ocean, Barren Heaven Realm, Heavenly Lord Doran's Place of Enlightenment, and Clover Sea. All kinds of divine images appeared one after another. In the end, a blood-colored crack appeared, which made everyone's expression change. "Let me try to see how strong my combat strength is now," he said coldly. He mobilized all the vital essence in his body and activated the divining divine skill without holding back. In an instant, dense divine images appeared in the sky. The violent power intertwined, making all the spectators tremble in fear. Is this the power of an immortal ascension cultivator? Ka! As soon as such an attack was used, the space directly exploded. In the distance, even Yang Qi, who was strong enough to kill immortal ascension powerhouses, was shocked. This kind of power was really terrifying. "It's not over yet. Continue." Lin Tian Dao. He raised his right hand, and the 4 symbols Dao diagram appeared. It buzzed and covered the 2 immortal ascension powerhouses. This Tao diagram spun and annihilated all the secret arts that the two immortal ascension powerhouses used. They could not break through it all. What is this? There's no such technique in this heavenly region. The two of them were shocked. Their cultivation levels were high, and they had lived long enough. But they could not recognize what technique this was. They had no clue. A technique to kill you. Lin Tiandao. Taking advantage of the four symbols Tao diagram support, he used his mind to suppress all the divine images. Elder Tai Xian and Elder Wan Tong's expressions changed. They roared and used all their techniques. Although they only had less than 60% of their combat strength, they were immortal ascension powerhouses after all. They used their secret arts fiercely and destroyed all of Lin Tian's attacks. However, at this moment, the two of them trembled and felt their hearts palpitate. Lin Tian stood in the sky. Above his head, two 7-foot lotus swords formed, intertwining with strands of yin and yang light. Staring at the two lotus swords, the two of them instantly felt their scalps go numb. Slash! A cold voice sounded. As soon as he finished speaking, the two lotus swords on Lin Tian's shoulders pierced through the air and instantly appeared above their heads. Chapter 417. The two lotus swords intertwined with black and white light, condensed from Lin Tian's Sea of Consciousness phenomenon. It was his strongest move now. Wanna see? Book 1 Ka? CC boom. Boom. The two elders of the Taishan Sacred Land and the All-End Sacred Land were shocked, and they urged all their divine power to meet the attack. With a buzz, the Taishan sword flew across the sky, and the fire Qilin appeared, each rushing toward a lotus sword. Seeing this, Lin Tian couldn't help but sneer. Clang! Clang! The two lotus swords ignored everything and directly pierced through the two great magical powers. These were the swords condensed from his Sea of Consciousness phenomenon. They could ignore all physical and divine power attacks and focus on attacking the Sea of Consciousness. Of course, it was not true to say that they could ignore everything. For example, if a Chaos Realm expert attacked, they could destroy his Yin-Yang Lotus Sea with a snap of their fingers. However, at this time, his Lotus Swords could ignore the attack of an early-stage Ascension Immortal Cultivator who only had less than 60% of their combat strength. Only the Sea of Consciousness and the Sea of Consciousness phenomenon could block it. How can this be? The two elders were shocked. The next moment, the Lotus Swords entered their bodies and directly rushed into their Sea of Consciousness. Screams sounded immediately, and the two fell from the void, struggling wildly. Their eyes were bloodshot in the blink of an eye, and they kept tearing at their scalps. A treasure sword appeared in Lin Tian's hand, and he coldly attacked, slashing the two's throats. The surrounding cultivators sucked in a breath of cold air. More than a dozen 7th and 8th Heavenly Layer Ascension Immortal Cultivators and 4 early-stage Ascension Immortal Cultivators were killed in such a short time. What a devil! 6 Ascension Immortal Cultivators and dozens of Ascension Immortal Cultivators, all dead. The higher-ups of the two sacred lands are probably going crazy. Many people's hearts palpitated. 6 mighty ones who had reached the immortal connecting realm and dozens of cultivators who were above the 7th tier of the Zephyr tier. This kind of power was enough to easily destroy any great sect, but now, all of them were buried in the sea. Even the Holy Lands would vomit blood and go crazy. Lin Tian put away his sword and the strange phenomenon in his sea of knowledge, thinking about the battle just now. His current battle prowess was indeed much stronger than before. However, the main reason why he was able to kill 4 immortal channeling experts so easily was because Yang Qi had depleted 40% of their battle prowess. If they were all at their peak, it would be almost impossible for him to kill them all at once. Reading a book? 1 K A N S Book H. UCC by Chio walked over from afar and stared at the corpses below. He curled his lips. What a vicious person. Black lines appeared on Lin Tian's forehead as he gave her a knock on the head. Don't speak ill of me in the future. You hit me again. You need to be taught a lesson. Lin Tianyi didn't feel bad at all. He tilted his head and looked at the black-clothed man. Yang Qi. He squinted his eyes as a form of greeting. Yang Qi's body was stained with blood, and even his hair was sticky, but his expression remained indifferent without any change. I'll repay your kindness in the future. After saying that, Yang Qi turned around and walked into the distance, disappearing in the blink of an eye. What? We saved his life. Why isn't he warm to us at all? Bai Qiu was displeased. Some people are just not good at talking. It's not a big deal. Lin Tian shook his head and suddenly smiled. Speaking of which, I was clearly the one who attacked and saved him. How did it become us saving his life? Why are you so clear about it? Bai Qiu was a little angry. It's fine if you don't know. Give me your divine sutra. I have too few mystical abilities and mystic techniques. They're not enough. Sure, Bai Qiu said. Teach me your weapon control technique and that Dao painting too. Also, tell me the secret of your physique and why you can use the mystical abilities of the king's territory. Lin Tian was immediately embarrassed. He originally wanted to tease Bai Qiu, but he didn't expect to be checkmated by her. The sun is nice today, he said with a smile and walked forward. I'll bite you to death. Bai Qiu glared and pounced on him. There were many large islands in the sea, and they were all rather large. Lin Tian and Bai Qiu walked together and passed more than 10 treasure islands. Want to read? K. A book and ship CC in the blink of an eye. 10 days passed. In the past few days, the two of them had been fighting with demonic beasts continuously. Although their cultivation levels did not increase much, their combat experience increased significantly. Should we find a place to go into seclusion? It's not good to keep fighting. I'm so tired, Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian nodded. He had the same thoughts too. Soon, the two of them found a secluded cave. The surroundings were very quiet, and the spiritual energy was not rich. Few demonic beasts passed by. I'm going to sleep for a while. Call me if anything happens. Bai Qiu took out a wide velvet blanket from her stone ring. It was made of pure white feathers of a broken gong bird and was very expensive. Aren't you going into seclusion? What do you know? Girls should sleep more, or their skin will deteriorate. Besides, sleeping means going into seclusion. Bai Qiu humphed. Lin Tian was too lazy to say anything to her. He sat cross-legged on the other side and circulated the four extremes meridian to adjust his true yuan. Faint silver light intertwined on his body. About an hour later, he stopped circulating the four extremes meridian and opened his eyes again. Not long ago, he had reached the third celestial layer of the imperial sky and had already consolidated his cultivation with the power of the spirit vein. Coupled with the battle after that, his cultivation was even more stable. It's time to cultivate the weapon control technique, he muttered to himself. The weapon control technique was known as the only martial technique that surpassed ordinary divine abilities. It focused on offense and could control thousands of precious weapons. When this technique was cultivated to the great success stage, every blade of grass and tree in the world could be used as a divine weapon in one's hand. One could even seize the enemy's weapon with one's will and turn it into one's own weapon. It was very terrifying. Ever since entering the second heaven and finding the divine art of divination, Lin Tian hadn't cultivated the weapon control technique much. When facing enemies, he mostly relied on pure physical strength, the yin-yang puppet, the divine art of divination, the four-symbol seal, and the yin-yang lotus sea. When he saw Yang Qi again, and then Bai Qiu mentioned the weapon control technique, he thought that it was time to cultivate this precious technique. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. The space between his eyebrows flickered. The weapon control technique wasn't a divine ability, and it didn't require hand seals. It was just that it required a high level of divine sense. It was a bit difficult for ordinary people to cultivate this secret technique. Lin Tian had comprehended the phenomenon in his sea of consciousness, so his divine sense naturally wouldn't be weak. Moreover, he had comprehended a trace of the nature Tao in Heavenly Lord Doran's place, so his divine sense had become even more powerful and shocking. Coupled with the heavenly tribulation, his divine sense was now comparable to an ordinary immortal cultivator. Buzz! The space between his eyebrows glowed as he practiced the weapon control technique in his sea of consciousness. His current sea of consciousness was already extremely large, as if it was an enormous immortal sea. At this moment, within this sea of consciousness, divine light flickered. Streaks of precious weapons appeared one after another, hacking out horizontally and vertically, causing this immortal sea to become restless. During this process, the immortal sea was turbulent. Only the yin-yang lotus on the surface of the sea was calm, swaying occasionally and releasing specks of light. With a boom, with it as the center, a murderous aura rushed out. Bai Qiu woke up and looked around with her beautiful eyes. In the end, her gaze landed on Lin Tian and found the source of the murderous aura. "What is this guy doing?" she muttered softly. Lin Tian was practicing the weapon control technique in his sea of consciousness, and for a moment, an even more powerful aura spread out. Bai Qiu curled her lips and stopped sleeping. She squatted on the ground and guarded him while carefully looking out of the cave. Just like that, another day passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Lin Tian opened his eyes and two sword lights flashed in his eyes. "You're awake?" Bai Qiu squatted aside. Lin Tian tilted his head and nodded with a smile. He stood up, and the aura on his body became more condensed and restrained. Now that his control of the weapon control technique had become more profound, he estimated that he could control the 108 treasure weapons at the same time and occasionally interfere with other people's weapons. He injected his true essence into the stone ring, scanned it slightly, and shook his head. There were only about 20 treasure weapons in the stone ring, and almost all of them were treasure weapons. It was too far away from the 108 treasure weapons. "I have to find more weapons," he whispered to himself. If he could find the 108 immortal weapons and use them with the weapon control technique, even a fourth heaven of the immortal realm wouldn't be able to stop him. However, this was just a thought. Immortal artifacts were hard to find. In the second heaven, even a superforce like the Bai family would have no more than 50 immortal artifacts in total. "What are you muttering about?" Bai Qiu came over. "I'm short of weapons. Your Bai family should have a lot of supreme treasures. Can you give me a few hundred superior grade supreme treasures?" Lin Tiandao. Bai Qiu narrowed his eyes and said, "My family doesn't lack weapons below immortal weapons. We have as many as you want, but why should I give them to you?" He stared at Lin Tian and said, "Why don't you marry into our Bai family? I have a few sisters, and they are all very beautiful. I can help you be a matchmaker and mediate between you. There won't be a problem." "How about I marry you?" Bai Qiu said happily. Okay, I will treat you well. I won't let you be wronged." Lin Tian. He was speechless. He really wanted to slap her, but after thinking about it, he decided not to. This girl was like a puppy. He scanned his surroundings and walked forward in a certain direction. "Hey, where are you going?" Bai Qiu chased after him. Stepping onto the treasure island, the two of them quickly walked into a place where demonic beasts were densely gathered. The beasts' cries were shocking, and the demonic aura was extremely dense. A ferocious beast roared and rushed toward the two of them with wings on its back. Lin Tian turned sideways and slapped it. Bang! This ferocious beast was comparable to the seventh layer of the Zephyr realm. It was directly sent flying and could not get up again. There was a group of ferocious beasts in front of them that were about to pounce. After seeing this scene, they all trembled and carefully retreated. "So ferocious," Bai Qiu muttered. Lin Tian glanced at her from the corner of his eyes and pretended to knock her. In the end, this lady was already prepared and directly jumped away. She made funny faces at him from the side, causing Lin Tian to be speechless. The two of them passed through the treasure islands and stepped onto one island after another, fighting with many demonic beasts. Soon, another 3 days had passed. During this process, Lin Tian saw many cultivators fighting and killing. Many people died in battle, and their blood dyed the desolate land. As expected, fighting with demonic beasts is only the most basic aspect. Cultivators still have to grow in bloody battles. He muttered to himself. Suddenly, the entire sea region boiled. In the middle of the sea region, a beam of light shot up and pierced into the sky. In an instant, all the living beings in the sea region reacted at the same time. That's the treasure island in the middle. It's said that an ancient king of the sea region is buried there. He's at the great Tao level. That tomb has been opened? Let's go and take a look. All the cultivators were moved. Chapter 418. The Sea King's Ancient Tomb. To be more precise, it should be the Sea King's Palace. Books.net. That place was originally a palace built by a great Tao realm ancient king of the sea region. It had once attracted the worship of all the demonic beasts in the sea region, forming a force of its own that was comparable to a few sacred grounds and ancient clans. Later on, this ancient king's lifespan dried up, and he buried himself in that palace. Therefore, in later generations, that palace was called the Sea King's Tomb. Boom! In that area, a pillar of light rushed into the heavens. Everyone was shocked as they raised their heads to look. The Sea King's tomb had always been sealed. Now that there was a strange phenomenon, everyone's eyes were filled with excitement, and they all rushed toward that place. In the distance, at the top of an old tree, Lin Tian and Bai Qiu stood together, looking at the large island in the middle. Let's go too, Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian glanced at her. Do you know how long the Sea King's tomb has existed? I know a little. It's indicated in the ancient books that it's been over 2,000 years. The tomb of a great Tao realm expert. Over 2,000 years have passed. Do you know how many soldiers and evil spirits have been born in there? Lin Tian said simply, hoping that Bai Qiu could understand it herself. There should be quite a few. Why? Bai Qiu looked at him curiously. Lin Tian raised his brows and gave her a knock on the head. Have you forgotten that you have the great physique? If you rush into that ancient tomb like this, even if you have the king physique, a group of soldiers and malicious spirits will surround you. In the end, you'll be exhausted to death. Bai Qiu held her head that had been knocked and giggled. You also know that I have the king physique. Ordinary soldiers will only be afraid of me and won't dare to charge at me. Even ordinary malicious spirits will fear me. Unless I encounter powerful evil spirits at the level of ghost kings, they will be a great threat to me. However, if I really encounter them, I still have celestial artifacts that can conceal my great source. Unless one reaches the great Tao realm, they won't be able to sense it. Are you sure? Lin Tian was a little worried. Of course. Bai Qiu patted his chest, his eyes shining as he looked in the direction of the Sea King's tomb. It's said that the Sea King was a survivor from the ancient times, but because he couldn't withstand the passage of time, he withered away and died in the palace. Such a character would definitely have a lot of treasures in his palace. Ancient scriptures, weapons, immortal pills, etc. Everything that one could think of would be there. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at the treasure island in the middle, wondering if he should go or not. Hey, go. Don't you need precious weapons? There must be a lot of them. Also, when the Sea King was less than 100 years old, he also comprehended the way of medicine refining. There might be a lot of herb gardens in there. After being closed for so many years, the precious herbs and immortal herbs in those gardens might have almost become spirits. If they're used to refine medicine, they will be very valuable. Maybe you can refine a baodan that can prolong your life. Bai Qiu said. Lin Tian thought about it. Although he knew that Bai Qiu was tempting him, he had to admit that what she said made sense. In the end, he nodded. Bai Qiu giggled and said, I have the Taiyin body, and you have the strange phenomenon in your mind. We are born to be the nemesis of soldiers and evil spirits. When we enter that ancient tomb, there will definitely be a lot of soldiers and evil spirits. Other cultivators will be tired of dealing with them, but we don't have to. Those ordinary soldiers and evil spirits will be afraid of us. We will definitely be the biggest winners. You can be happy when we get out of there. Lin Tian poured cold water on her. The two of them soared into the sky. After about 2 hours, they appeared above the treasure island in the middle. Looking down from the sky, this treasure island was covered in extremely rich ancient vegetation. It was unimaginably vast. Compared to the other treasure islands, this island was incomparably huge. It was at least 10 times the size of a normal island. It's so big. Bai Qiu was surprised. At this moment, a dense crowd of cultivators came from all directions and headed towards the center of the treasure island. Lin Tian pulled Bai Qiu and descended from the sky. Not long after, following the crowd, the two of them arrived at a spacious area. In front of them, countless ancient beasts covered the sky. They were ferocious and terrifying. 100-meter-long wild python breathed out poisonous fog and instantly swallowed a cultivator at the peak of the mind's sea into its stomach. At the same time, in another direction, a 3-meter-tall demonic ape roared. It grabbed a powerful cultivator at the early stage of the Zephyr realm and tore him into pieces in the air. Blood splattered everywhere. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed. These ancient beasts were not simple. Their combined strength was truly terrifying. Hey, look deeper. Bai Qiu pointed ahead and whispered. Lin Tian looked up. Behind this group of ancient beasts, in the distant horizon, there was a huge palace. Looking from afar, the palace was built with strange, white jade stones. Even after so many years, there were not many traces of rust on it. Even from afar, one could feel a majestic aura. That's the Sea King's tomb? Lin Tian frowned. Bai Qiu nodded and said, it shouldn't be wrong. Look at these cultivators rushing there fearlessly. A scream came from ahead. A ferocious bird flew across the sky. It was about 20 meters long, and its claws were sharper than swords. It grabbed a cultivator at the 8th level of the mind's sea and tore him into pieces. Ah! Screams echoed. The front instantly turned into a purgatory. Ferocious birds flew across the sky, and ancient beasts chased after the ground. The scene was terrifying. However, although the screams continued, few people retreated. Many people rushed into the depths. Moreover, there were some extremely powerful cultivators among this group of cultivators. They tore apart many powerful beasts and walked forward step by step. Lin Tian looked ahead. Among these ancient beasts, the strongest was comparable to the peak of the Zephyr realm. However, because there were so many of them, they were very terrifying when grouped together. Of course, it was only to this extent. He didn't care much about it now. Follow behind me, he said to Bai Qiu. After saying that, he walked forward. His steps were very calm. Roar! A ferocious beast roared and charged at him. It was a black bear that was about 20 meters tall. Its body was filled with a murderous aura, and it was comparable to a peak-stage Zephyr realm expert. Lin Tian raised his hand and punched out. Bang! The powerful black bear's demonic body was comparable to an early-stage Immortal Ascension realm expert. But at this moment, it was sent flying. Such a scene caused many people to look over. When they saw that it was Lin Tian who made the move, they all shrank their necks. Roar! Roar! The group of ferocious beasts roared and looked over, staring at Lin Tian. Oh, you're really born to attract hatred, Bai Qiu muttered. The ancient beasts roared and roared. Pairs of eyes were either demonic red or dark green. They charged at Lin Tian with a murderous aura. With a boom, the space started to distort and the ground started to shake violently. In an instant, more than 10 ancient beasts pounced over. There were demonic birds in the air and ferocious beasts on the ground. The weakest of them was comparable to a powerful cultivator at the 7th level of the Zephyr realm. Lin Tian was expressionless. With a buzz, he propped up the divine rumble palace. Pooh! 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 In an instant, demonic blood splattered, and the ancient birds and ferocious beasts that were close to him were all sent flying. One had to know that his current cultivation level had reached the 3rd level of the Zephyr realm. With such a cultivation level, He activated the divine Rumble Palace in the King region. The power was terrifying. Even ordinary early-stage Immortal Ascension realm experts did not dare to be careless. How could these ordinary demonic birds withstand it? Among them, 3 of the ancient birds that were comparable to the 7th level of the Zephyr realm exploded in the air. Terrifying. Seriously, with such strength, who among the younger generation can suppress him except for the Leaf family's sun body? Many cultivators were terrified. Lin Tian propped up the divine Rumble Palace. Purple lightning descended from the sky, enveloping him and Bai Qiu. He used the divine Rumble Palace to protect his body and brought Bai Qiu forward step by step, passing through the area filled with ferocious beasts as if they were walking on flat ground. It was also at this moment that a violent demonic aura surged from not far away, attracting the attention of many people. Among the ancient beasts, a burly figure was walking. Wherever he passed, demonic blood splattered, and the ancient beasts were torn apart. The demonic saint of Mount Tianyao, the desolate demon physique. He's here too. Many people swallowed their saliva. Many people stared in the direction of the desolate demon physique and subconsciously moved away, afraid that they would be tainted by a wisp of demonic light. That was the desolate demon king physique. A simple wisp of demonic light was enough to wipe out half of the Zephyr realm cultivators. Lin Tian naturally sensed the demonic aura at the first moment and immediately turned his head to look. After seeing the desolate demon physique, 2 cold lights flashed in his eyes. He stopped in his tracks, and a long sword appeared in his right hand. He raised his hand and slashed at the desolate demon physique. Bai Qiu curled his lips. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. Clang! The ear-piercing sound of the sword rang out, as if a heavenly sword had descended. A 10-meter-long sword energy tore through the air and cut off the head of an ancient beast. It went straight for the desolate demon physique's glabella. 2 cold, demonic lights shot out from the desolate demon physique's eyes. It raised its hand and grabbed, directly tearing Lin Tian's sword energy apart. "It's you!" It stared at Lin Tian. Its eyes were cold and ferocious at the same time. "It's me!" Lin Tianling said. He propped up the divine chime palace and ignored the ferocious beasts around him. The long sword in his hand slashed down again. The 9th slash of the young incinerating sword was slashed out. For a moment, the sky was filled with flaming swords. Many cultivators felt a chill down their spines. Many cultivators quickly dodged, but some of the ancient beasts were in great trouble. More than a dozen of them fell into a pool of blood. "You're courting death." The desolate demon physique's eyes were cold as it struck out with the great god-slaying palm. With a buzzing sound, the demonic cloud surged as a gigantic palm imprint covered the entire sky, pressing down on Lin Tian in an imposing manner. Of course, Bai Qiu was also enveloped by it. "Damn demon!" The young lady was clearly unhappy. She secretly activated her lunar origin and struck out one of the core secret techniques of the Divine Sutra. With a boom, a divine shadow appeared behind her. It was a full 30 meters tall. Its left hand was raised vertically, and its right hand slapped toward the desolate demon physique. This is the Bai family's grand celestial king arcane technique. Dodge! The surrounding cultivators' hearts palpitated. Lin Tian was very close to Bai Qiu. He was also shocked by this technique. Looking at the huge divine shadow behind Bai Qiu, even someone as powerful as him felt a sense of pressure. Boom! Chapter 419. The arcane technique of the great immortal king was manifested, and Bai Qiu secretly activated it with the origin of Yin. Such power was indeed terrifying. Full text reading a book? 1K? A. As far as the eye could see, there was a 30-meter-tall divine figure standing between the heavens and the earth. When it pressed down with its palm, it stirred up a hurricane. Pushed! With a crisp sound, the great divine massacre handprint of the desolate demon body was smashed. Afterwards, the huge hand of the great immortal king didn't stop and continued to press towards the desolate demon body, shattering the void. The Bai family has the Thunder God King constitution and can be considered supreme in the same generation. I didn't expect their eldest princess to be so terrifying. In the same generation, the Bai family now has two supreme beings? Many people were shocked. In the distance, the desolate demon body's expression changed and a cold aura appeared on its face. Silly girl. Two cold rays of light appeared in its eyes, and it directly propped up the desolate heaven realm. This time, the great immortal king's arcane technique couldn't withstand it and shattered under the desolate heaven realm. Afterwards, the desolate heaven realm shook and enveloped Bai Qiu. "Hey, lackey, you go," Bai Qiu shouted. Lin Tian was puzzled and asked via voice transmission, "Where's your king's territory?" "You're so stupid. My physique is a big secret of the family. If I show it to the king's territory, everyone will know," Bai Qiu replied. Lin Tian suddenly realized that he had forgotten about it. "What about the Sea of Consciousness phenomenon?" he asked. The king's territory was extremely powerful, but the Sea of Consciousness phenomenon wouldn't be too far off. After a powerful Sea of Consciousness phenomenon was propped up, it could also kill enemies 8 small realms away like the king's territory. Of course, there was a certain realm restriction. At the Imperial Sky realm, the king's territory and Sea of Consciousness phenomenon might be able to kill enemies 8 small realms away, but it wouldn't be possible in the later stages. As one's cultivation realm increased, the difference in combat power between small realms would become greater and greater. In the later stages, it would become more and more difficult to rely on the king's territory or Sea of Consciousness phenomenon to kill enemies 8 small realms away. In the end, it would even be impossible to kill enemies 1 small realm away. For example, the gap between the peak of the Nirvana realm and the early stage of the Chaos realm was like heaven and earth. It was simply impossible for the king's territory and Sea of Consciousness phenomenon to kill chaotic powerhouses at all. "I haven't comprehended it yet." Bai Qiu was straightforward. "What? Reading? 1? K?" Ungshup Cc Lin Tian curled his lips. "It seems that your comprehension ability isn't that good." "What did you say?" Bai Qiu glared at him. With a boom, the barren heaven world was already above their heads. Lin Tian pulled Bai Qiu behind him, and the phenomenon in his sea of knowledge spread out. The yin-yang twin lotus hummed as it slashed towards the desolate demon body. The lotus petal rushed into the barren heaven world and clashed with the barren heaven world, causing a sky full of sparks. Boom! The battle between the king's territory and the Sea of Consciousness produced extremely terrifying waves of energy, causing many cultivators who were rushing towards the Sea King's palace to be horrified. They all stopped and retreated. It was a battle between 2 supreme venerables of the same generation, not to mention that they were supporting the king's territory and the Sea of Consciousness. In the face of such power, ordinary cultivators wouldn't dare to stay far away, as they would die on the spot. Roar! Demonic beasts roared and pounced at the 2 of them. However, before they could get close, they were torn apart by the power of the 2 of them. The group of cultivators was even more shocked, and they cautiously retreated. Boom! 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 Lin Tianyi fought with the desolate demon body while destroying the ferocious beasts blocking his way. Everywhere he passed, destructive power overflowed. "We're here," Bai Qiu said. In front of them, the Sea King's palace was laid out horizontally. The white jade stones reflected a faint light under the sunlight. This palace had a history of thousands of years. There were more than 10 entrances in front of them, all of which were sealed by heavy iron doors. Lin Tian and the desolate demon body were dozens of feet apart. They each came to a door and smashed the heavy palace door beside them. Whoosh! A cold wind rushed out of the Sea King's palace, bringing with it a rotten stench. Even the air became colder. Roar! Seeing the 2 of them break open the palace door, all the ancient birds and ferocious beasts around them roared. They seemed to be the guardian ancient beasts of the Sea King's palace. For a moment, Their eyes were blood red as they charged towards Lin Tian and the desolate demon body without fear of death, wanting to tear them apart in front of the palace. Let's go in, Bai Qiu said. At this moment, there were more than 100 ferocious beasts pouncing over. Their combined demonic power was really terrifying. Book to read 1, CC separated by the horde of ferocious beasts, Lin Tian and the desolate demon body stared at each other. Their cold eyes intertwined with one another as they stepped into the palace beside them. Roar! The group of demonic beasts rushed over and stared at the two of them as they rushed into the palace. They all roared in unison. Suddenly, a violent demonic aura was rampant. The demonic beast's gazes fell on the other cultivators, and they charged straight at them. Screams rang out instantly. Facing the frenzied beast horde, many cultivators panicked and retreated. Of course, even more cultivators did not retreat. After all, this was the ancient palace of a Grand Dao realm expert. There must be amazing treasures inside. Kill! Someone roared. Many cultivators joined forces and slaughtered their way out. Many cultivators entered the Sea King's palace one after another. The interior of the Sea King's palace was a little dark. As soon as Lin Tian and Bai Qiu stepped in, treasured lamps lit up on both sides. As far as the eye could see, the two of them were stepping on a relatively wide palace path. The path was about 10 feet wide and 3 feet tall. The left and right sides of the path were green porcelain stones. There was a bronze lamp every 10 feet. These bronze lamps were engraved with strange marks. They looked like humans who were being tortured. It was a little creepy in the dim palace. The yin qi is very dense. Be careful. Lin Tiandao. Don't worry. I have the extreme yin king physique. Now that I'm in the initial stage of the king physique, ordinary yin qi won't be able to get close to me. Bai Qiu said proudly. Don't be so smug. Be careful that your joy turns to sorrow. Lin Tiandao said. Use an immortal artifact to hide your extreme yin origin. If there really is a ghost king here and suddenly targets you, you won't be able to hide it in time. What's there to be afraid of? Don't I still have you? As a qualified follower, you have to risk your life to protect the Lord. Bai Qiu said, Go away. Lin Tiandao could not be bothered to knock her. Bai Qiu snorted unhappily. However, she did as Lin Tiandao said and used an immortal artifact to hide her extreme yin origin. The two of them walked along the palace path step by step. Soon, a stone door covered in a thick layer of dust appeared in front of them. Lin Tiandao stopped and narrowed his eyes as he looked ahead. What's wrong? Bai Qiu asked. There's something on the other side. Lin Tiandao. Bai Qiu immediately understood. Is it a yin soldier evil spirit? Something like that. Lin Tiandao nodded. With a thought, the yin-yang lotus sea appeared. Lotus petals floated up and penetrated the stone door to the other side. They can penetrate it? Bai Qiu was shocked. She was about to ask something when suddenly, a scream came from behind the stone door. It was so mournful that it made one's scalp go numb. After about 10 breaths, the scream stopped, and the other side quieted down. A few lotus petals floated back and disappeared into Lin Tiandao's glabella. That's enough, he said. He waved his hand, and an energy sword shot out and slashed forward. With a loud boom, the stone door in front of them shattered. Smoke and dust rose and quickly disappeared. The other side was littered with broken bodies and rotten flesh. Black blood flowed on the ground. There are so many yin soldiers with flesh and blood. Bai Qiu muttered, Let's go. Lin Tiandao stepped through the stone door. Behind the stone door was no longer a simple palace path. Instead, it had widened. There was a stone pillar every 10 feet or so. These stone pillars were very thick. Even 7 or 8 adults would not be able to encircle them. There were all kinds of ancient carvings on them. There were sea beasts that were 10 feet tall and headless knights. All of them were lifelike, as if they were real. Who carved these things? They're so scary. It feels like they're going to come out. Bai Qiu muttered. Then, she looked at Lin Tiandao and said, Speaking of which, you've killed all the evil spirits in this space behind the stone door, right? I've killed all that I can. If there are any that aren't dead, it'll probably take some effort to kill them. Lin Tiandao. Bai Qiu widened her eyes and said in surprise, Are you serious? With your current cultivation, you should be able to kill evil spirits easily after activating the phenomenon in your sea of consciousness. Judging from your tone, are there still evil spirits in here? Who knows? Lin Tiandao walked forward. At that moment, hurried footsteps came from behind. Some cultivators had passed by the horde of beasts and ran here. Lin Tiandao glanced behind him. He did not care and continued walking forward. When the cultivators saw Lin Tiandao, they were all wary at first. Then they quickly sized up the space. These stone pillars? They're huge. It's a little creepy. This sword, could it be that it's sealed inside? Why do I feel a chill coming from it? Dig it out and take a look. Since we're already here and the Sea King's tomb was finally opened, we might as well give it a try. Who knows? It might be a real treasure weapon. Some cultivators stared at the stone pillars and spoke. Suddenly, a few people moved and slapped the stone pillars in front of them. Lin Tiandao stopped and turned back to shout, Don't move! A few cultivators trembled and hurriedly stopped when they heard Lin Tiandao's voice. However, one of them did not stop in time and slashed at the stone pillar in front of him. Suddenly, the stone pillar shattered with a crack, and fragments flew everywhere. The corpse of a sea beast rolled out of the stone pillar, holding a rusty king's saber in its rotten claws. The person who shattered the stone pillar trembled in fear and fell to the ground. They actually sealed living creatures in the stone pillars? Bai Qiu was surprised. Look at the corpse of the sea beast. It was definitely at the connecting immortal realm in the past. And it wasn't an ordinary one. It was at least at the fourth heaven of connecting immortal realm. Don't focus on the wrong thing. Lin Tiandao knocked on her head. You're knocking again. Ah. Bai Qiu was dissatisfied. She was interrupted by a scream just as she spat out 3 words. In the distance, the sea beast that fell from the stone pillar suddenly moved. With a slash of its blade, it cut off the head of the cultivator who shattered the stone wall. Blood gushed out from the man's neck and dyed the nearby stone pillars a little red. It's alive! How can it be? Everyone's expression changed, and they all retreated. This sea beast was shaped like a human body. Its body made creaking sounds as if it was made of machinery. On its rotting cheeks, there were no eyeballs in its pupils. They were pitch black, like 2 black holes, giving people a sense of horror. Lin Tiandao squinted at Bai Qiu. Is it a malicious spirit? Definitely. Bai Qiu shrunk her neck. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.